And the Cardinals have finally broken through.
Riley ready. Here it is. Swing and a miss. And the Cardinals win it 1-0. A J.J. Weatherhold homer. Dobbins, Gastelum, Soriano, and O'Brien Mark send us home.
Not a whole lot to that one outside of the solo homer from JJ, but battled. Pitching staff did a really nice job. Dobbins was really good. Did a really nice job of mixing, but also getting to 2 strikes and then getting them to chase, but didn't allow any walks, which was also a big part of that game. But overall, solid.
That's what it sounded like yesterday on Cardinals TV, audio courtesy of them. Also, that voice you just heard is Ollie Marmol. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Cardinals get the win, a much-needed victory, and a style of victory that we haven't seen a whole lot of recently, Alex.
Yeah,
a 1-0 victory where the pitching came through in a big way. And let's start our conversation with said pitching. Hunter Dobbins was really good yesterday, man. I said I expect 5 innings, 3 earned runs out of him. He gave you 6 and didn't allow an earned run. Also didn't walk anybody, which has become a huge point of contention with this rotation recently. Dustin May's walking the world. You go to the bullpen, everybody is walking people, including Riley O'Brien last night, where he gave up 2 free passes. Man, it was refreshing to watch. Just a pitcher come in, go on the attack. The Angels lineup is not going to do a whole lot of damage against you. Like, let's be real. This is not a good lineup, even though they've looked good against the Cardinals at times in this series. Dobbins went on the attack, and he made them look bad. That's what you're supposed to do as a starting pitcher. And so my question to you, Alex, is not so much breaking down the game from yesterday. The numbers speak for themselves. It's more of a bigger picture question of, has this guy with his 3.2 ERA so far this year earned an extended look in the Cardinals rotation, given what the alternatives have looked like at times recently?
Hell yes. He absolutely does. Like, I've seen enough with Hunter Dobbins. And look, it's not pretty. It's not sexy. It's not 9 strikeouts and all of this whiff and swing rate with guys going up against Hunter Dobbins. But you know what he's doing? He's giving you competitive outings, and he's getting clean through them. Like, for example, the team that he just went 6 innings with and did not give up a run, did not give up a walk, was the exact same team. Unless I'm missing one of their big sluggers that was, healthy scratched in that game because it was a getaway day.
They don't have big-time sluggers. So
okay, good. Well, Joe Adell, I just assumed in the first 2 games, was one of their MVPs. That same team that Dobbins just did that against, Matthew Liberatore got lit up in the first inning for 5 runs. And struggled. So I told you guys yesterday, it's deja vu watching the Cardinals with Libby going out there of Eric Fetty. It was deja vu again last night in a good way. Like, do we all remember how we felt about Michael McGreevy in his first 6 starts last season?
I remember one of them here.
Which one?
McGreevy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Every one of them, I feel like we came on the next day. Hold on, BK's confused.
What did he just say?
He said, I remember one of them here.
No, I remember wanting him here.
Oh, okay.
You have to enunciate, sir.
I thought he said, I remember one of them here, and then said Michael McGreevy, and I was like,
well, that's why I looked at him and I said, what? And then I didn't want to do-si-do again like I did yesterday, so I was just going to gloss over it. But your face...
Thank you for moving on.
No,
I should have done the same.
Your face is my wife's face when I say something that she doesn't like. It's kind of the FU look where it's like, okay, do we need to rehash
what
it just did?
I don't like that. It was an I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it was kind of a poop face there. I get that, man. I get that.
Sorry,
anyway,
I apologize.
I bring up Michael McGreevy because last season, every time we saw him pitch, we ended it, and the next day we're like, why is this guy not on the roster? Because Eric Fetty is on this roster, and he's still pitching, and it still looks ugly. And it wasn't until that first start after the All-Star game where Fetty pitched against the Rockies, and then McGreevy pitched against the Rockies. Fetty gave up like 6 runs, and McGreevy went 6 scoreless. And we were like, finally, they moved on from him. So when you ask, should Hunter Dobbins get an extended look? Yes, and it should be in Matthew Liberatore's spot because Matthew Liberatore is doing what Eric Fetty did to where every start, you know it's going to go bad. Hunter Dobbins, look, it's not pretty, but he's getting the job done, and you left wins on the board by playing Fetty over McGreevy last season. You're doing that again with Liberatore and not putting Dobbins out on the mound.
I think this feels so similar to some of the decisions that they made, for example, with Nathan Church. Nathan Church wasn't perfect in center field. He was not a guy that was destroying the baseball with regularity. This wasn't a situation where it was like, oh, wait, That's Alec Burleson. Burley is, remember a couple of years ago, he just took the outfield spot from some of the other competition that was out there against him. He was just better than everybody else. Church was fine. He was good defensively, and he did all of the little things offensively. And that was enough for them to say this guy's a better alternative to a guy that we clearly value more in Victor Scott II. And so they sent Vic down, they gave Nathan Church the opportunity, and he's had extended runway in center field. The same thing is true right now, to Alex's point, with Hunter Dobbins versus Matthew Liberatore. Libby has had an opportunity here. For more than a calendar year, he has failed with said opportunity. And that is not based upon my opinion. That is based upon an objective fact, which is his ERA. When you compare him not only to your other starters, but to every other starter in Major League Baseball who's qualified for the innings limit over this stretch, he's one of the 5 worst pitchers in Major League Baseball over this span. It is time for a different look in that spot in the rotation. Based upon what they have done in their opportunities at the big league level, Dobbins has flat out been better than what you've been getting out of Matthew Liberatore. And it's the exact same timing as when they made this switch a year ago. Alex mentioned that Colorado start for Michael McGreevy. That came on July 21st of last year. The Cardinals, we've said it a million different times, have had an extremely similar results-based season this year to last. And right now, they're having a similar kind of decline to what they did a year ago. McGreevy made that start on July 21st, and then he made every start the rest of the way in that spot in the rotation. I'm going to be fascinated to see what the decision is later on this afternoon, and it should be coming relatively soon, I would guess, for their roster. They made a move earlier today in the minor leagues to call up Brant Thompson to be a part of the AAA pitching staff. He was transferred from Springfield to Memphis. My guess is that is to add some depth to their pitching staff. They would do that. That's Brian Windhorse meme right here. They would do that in order to fill in some of the innings that are about to be missing by somebody getting a call-up. Who is that somebody? It could be Quinn Matthews. More likely, it's going to be one of Ryan Fernandez or Bryson Motts today. And then you figure out what to do with your rotation moving forward. Do they call up one of those bullpen arms and send down Dobbins? Or do they keep Dobbins here, maybe throw Libby into the bullpen, and then send down one of Graceffo or Matt Swanson? That is the decision that looms for them at some point over the next couple hours today.
Yeah, my guess is they're going to do just something simple. They're going to send Dobbins down, and then they're going to bring up one of Motts or Fernandez. I would lean Fernandez, but we'll see. I mean, it could be Motts, and they just say, you know what, we're tired of going with right-handers in the lefty lane. Let's just get Motts up here. I think they're going to try and sell this as Motts has to figure out how to be a bullpen arm, so that's why we're calling up Fernandez. And then I think they'll make the Dobbins move to the rotation post-deadline, right? If they trade Dustin May, maybe that's how you get Quinn Matthews' spot into the rotation, and then you look at Dobbins and you say, okay, let's have him replace Matthew Liberatore. But I'm here to see it as soon as possible because, as you guys have talked about, I understand, watching Dobbins, it's not necessarily the prettiest of experiences, but he gets the job done, right? He doesn't have a ton of swing and miss, which, hello, I'm the number one guy that will preach for swing and miss. You don't necessarily need that out of the 4 and 5 out of your rotation. Also, I don't care that Liberatore has better swing and miss stuff. He gets clobbered every time he goes out there, right? That's nice that he struck out 7, but can we do that without giving up 5 earned runs?
Yeah.
And he can't. So it feels very similar, but I think when it comes to the roster move today, I think they're just going to go path of least resistance. I mean, they haven't proven otherwise over the last month or so about avoiding the path of least resistance, and that path is you option down Hunter Dobbins, and then you call up one of Fernandez or Motts.
And I think it's going to be Fernandez
would be the true path of least resistance.
That's what I think.
Because then you can have Motts later on if you need him as a lefty option. We kind of know how that goes at this point, right?
Yeah. BK wept.
I hope they don't do that because they need a lefty lane guy. They need somebody to come in that JoJo Romero spot, and I would like to see them test run Bryson Motts in that role. I've been dead-ass wrong on everything they've done with Bryson Motts for the better part of a month now, so it's entirely possible they're not going to do it again, but given what they have, Gastelum is getting all of those lefty lanes right now. I don't blame him. He's probably the guy that profiles best for it. Could you have a second? And could you have 2 of those guys to where when Gastelum is not available, you can go to Bryson Motts there? Because that ain't Ryan Fernandez. He's not coming in and filling that role. They would tell you it's Soriano.
Well,
Soriano is typically the guy they go to for the 8th inning, though.
Well, I didn't say it was ideal.
So now I've got maybe I'm utilizing Soriano for that lefty lane. Now I potentially have to go to Gastelum for the righty lane in the 8th, and then the next day I've got neither, and I'm bleeped in both the 8th inning and now for the lefty lane. So I don't think Fernandez is coming up to be a part of that 8th inning spot, and I don't think he's one of the guys that's going to get that lefty lane for you. I think the best way to go for that, if you want to improve the club going into this weekend, is to call up Bryson Motts. I don't know if they view him as somebody that can help them, though. So there's a lot to read into whatever the decision is later today. I think this is one of the more interesting read their actions, not their words situations in the last few weeks.
Yeah. I would agree with that because I think you're right. I think if they don't call him up today when there's clearly a left-handed lane that's available there, then that's telling you that they don't think he's ready to be up here with the big league club right now. And I think part of the decision of transitioning him from rotation to bullpen, it wasn't just, hey, we've got a bunch of starters here, someone draws the odd straw. It was, we have a bunch of starters here, and he's not pitching well right now. And I think that was part of their argument as well as to why he wasn't up here sooner. So it will be interesting to see what they do. You're right. We should read into what their actions are today, but I'm expecting their actions are not going to please one Brandon Kiley.
That's fair. And I won't make today is not the day. I've been far more frustrated by the other stuff with Motts than I would be with this.
Yeah, today's not the day, man, because they won 1-0, right?
Yeah.
The bullpen was locked in last night. They got the job done.
I just if Motts, it's an extra 10 days to get him up to be that lefty reliever. I think he's going to come up eventually. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to lose my mind over this, I promise you. But I do think it would be telling if they don't do that. I think it would probably tell you, like, they're not all the way there with Bryson Motts in general, and they just disagree with my assessment of who he is as a pitcher, which is fine. We can disagree on those things. It wouldn't be the first time that we've disagreed on the value.
You and the Cardinals don't get along?
BK will celebrate when Motts comes up and gets that first strikeout.
The irony here is I agree with most of their player takes, I think. There's just a few of them where we have differing views on it.
You know what'll be chef's kiss? Is they say, well, we're gonna wait a little bit, and then deadline BK's like, all right, this is finally when we see Motts. Or they trade JoJo. Well, then they trade JoJo, and then they select Jared Schuster back to the club.
Or they put Libby into the bullpen role, and they say, no,
no, we're bringing up a starter.
Dobbins takes over the role for Libby, and Libby goes back to the bullpen.
Needs more developing.
Motts stays down in AAA. They just added him to the 40-man spot for one opportunity.
I do love when you're upset, man. It makes me happy.
I'm sure you do.
I don't know if that makes me a good friend or not, but
he's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. You can check us out on YouTube, as always, at youtube.com/101 ESPN We've got a lot of runway today for us to talk with you guys. There are no guests coming up on the show today. You can check out the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast, though, where Alex and Donnie talked about the Blues. You can do that over on YouTube at youtube.com/101 ESPN And we will have a new edition of the Redbird Report over there later on today. By the way, if you're interested in advertising on either of those two shows,
we've got packages.
We've got new opportunities to do so. It is a lower barrier of entry to get in now. You can get in on the ground floor with either of those two shows. Reach out to myself, Alex, or maybe T-Bone as well,
T-Bone,
if you'd like to learn more about the opportunities that exist to partner with either of those two shows. Coming up next,
the coolest of the group.
that I agree with.
Earlier today, MLB.com put together their roadmap for every team in Major League Baseball as it pertains to the trade deadline. They said the Cardinals have one thing in particular they should be looking to acquire. Do we agree with that? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So earlier today, I went over to MLB.com, Alex, and they had a new piece up on the roadmap, different plans for all 30 teams as we get to the Major League Baseball trade deadline. I was curious what they were going to say about the Cardinals. So in this, Mark Feinsand was the one that wrote it for the Cardinals. He's very plugged in, national guy for MLB Network. He said, St. Louis is one of the surprise teams in this year's race, but President of Baseball Operations Chaim Bloom is unlikely to become a big buyer regardless of how close the Cardinals are to a playoff spot. Side note, I think we all agree with that assessment so far. Bloom could look to thread the needle with a buy and sell model, with pending free agent Dustin May and Lars Nootbaar serving as the most logical trade chips. Again, side note, I think we agree with everything so far. Adding starting pitching depth, preferably controllable arms, should be the focus, end quote. That last line is what I wanted to serve as our discussion point for this segment, Alex. I think there was a point in time, I don't know, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, where I would have agreed with that. Yes, add some starting pitching depth. I don't feel that way any longer. If the Cardinals are going to add a controllable arm that can be a 1 or a 2 or a 3 for them long term, okay, cool, I'm in. Like, if they wanted to go get Joe Ryan, for example, and they said, this is a guy that we believe in not only for the here and now, but we're going to extend him. We're going to give him a 5-year contract extension. We think this is the guy to lead our rotation into the future. All right, cool. I'm all in. Sounds great. I'd even trade, like, bigger assets for something like that.
Slow down over there.
But
I like it.
I don't think that's particularly likely. I think they're more likely to go the route of like a Reed Detmers or something like that, right? A guy that can give you a couple of years and kind of serves as that fringe, like 3, 4, 5 in a good rotation. I don't feel the need to do that right now, Alex. I would just rather see Quinn Matthews or Hunter Dobbins get the opportunity the rest of the year, see what they can do in that role, and then in the offseason, you can use that information to then go out to the market and find out, depending on the CBA side of things, all right, should we now go see what's out there, see what kind of arms are available, and teams might be more willing to negotiate a deal on one of their arms that would otherwise help them get into the playoffs right now. So I don't know if starting pitching depth is something I'm all that interested in, unless it's guys that are like, at the lower levels of the minor leagues, and they can go target somebody similar to a Brandon Clark like they did last offseason. But major league starting depth, I don't see that as a necessity any longer.
No, I'm 100% with you. Now, my ceiling isn't so much like going after the next ace that can carry or the next number one. Like, I'd look at this saying, if you can tell me that I can go get a controllable pitcher that replaces Dustin May so that I'm not paying Dustin May $23 million just next year, and I'm getting a guy that for the next 3 years is a part of my rotation but has a little higher of a ceiling than Dustin May, to me, that would intrigue me because I'm adding a guy that's at least a part of this for 3 years. He's got a high ceiling that I can work with, but I'm still getting my Quinn Matthews into the rotation.
But you're not doing that. Like, who's giving up a guy that has a higher ceiling than Dustin May for the next 3 years to get Dustin May the rest of this year?
No, I'm not saying trading Dustin May. I'm saying you move Dustin May elsewhere deals. And you trade assets to go get that controllable piece. Because to me, that's just moving around the chairs. I'm bringing in a guy who's not going to be $23 million, is here for 3-4 years, but I'm also opening up a spot on my rotation by moving Liberatore out to put Quinn Matthews in.
I got you.
So now I got controllable asset, Quinn Matthews, Michael McGreevy, Leahy, Palante, and just whatever I decide to do. That's where I would go with it. If I can go out there and get the guy that leads my rotation for however many years, then I'm all for that. But I'm totally with you. Like, from hearing what Memphis is stacked with right now with all of these starting pitchers and not enough spots in the rotation, man, I don't need major league depth. I'm good there. I need guys that can make my team better while I continue to develop these younger arms.
Earlier today over on The Athletic, T-Bone, they put together, and it's Eno Saris, our friend from The Athletic, put together his rankings of like the top 150 starters in Major League Baseball. He had Reed Detmers at 35 on this list. I feel like I underestimate, and we did a little bit of a deep dive on Reed Detmers before the show today. I underestimate how good he is. Maybe he is the kind of guy that would make some sense for the Cardinals if you view him in a similar range of, for example, Sonny Gray, Shane McClanahan, Ranger Suarez. That's the range, Hunter Brown. That's the range that they have Reed Detmers on this list. And if you had just flat out told me, hey, you can acquire somebody in that ilk, I'd do it. I'd be interested in it. But that's the kind of pitcher that I'm talking about here, that if they're going to reach and go make a move like this, I think they probably would be better for it. But if they're going to go out there and get, I don't know who the pitcher is specifically, but
like their version, another version of like Palante and Leahy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because we've talked about moving
like
them.
Seth
That's what they
Lugo,
are.
That doesn't do anything for me. I'm out.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think if you are looking
Sean
for
Manaea.
control,
I'm out.
No,
yeah,
I
you're
don't need
looking
that.
more for the guys that are like 1-2s in the rotation that you view. But the problem is like, are you really willing to give up the assets to make that happen? Now, maybe
Probably not.
Maybe they are, and maybe that's what these tea leaves are that we're seeing being reported. But I just can't imagine that's it, because what that would mean to me is they are buying into the offense and they're starting their push now. And what I mean by that is they're starting their offseason early, and this is the offseason where we start to see some of that pushing starting out of this rebuild. And they say, hey, we've got a top 4 that's legit in our lineup. Now it's a matter of time of, we know Doyle's coming, we know Sange is coming. Let's get a veteran that will come in here and help them out along the way as they start to arrive here in a year or two. It's almost like their version of the John Lester move, right? Where the Cubs brought in Lester a year early. I just can't imagine that they're there yet, the way how Heim kind of operated in Boston. I just don't know that he's going to make that move. But it doesn't make any sense, I'm with you, to go out there and acquire like a back-end 3, 4, 5 starter. And that's why I would say, like, I get what Eno's rankings say of Denver. To me, he screams a 3. And I even think if I'm trading for a controllable 3, I'll just take my shot and see if, like, Doyle, Sanger, or Franklin become that guy in my system.
I'll just wait till the offseason and see what Seattle's deciding to do.
Yeah. You got a lot of guys that are going to have to move on from someone.
Yeah, and they don't have to, but they can. And, like, they're not going to move on from them now. Not the good ones, at least. They're not going to trade Logan Gilbert right now. They're not going to trade George Kirby right now. They're trying to win a World Series with those guys. But if they fail to do so, and then they get to the offseason, and you've got 2 of the top, like, 10 prospects in Major League Baseball coming through your pipeline, and you can get something of significance to help you right now, maybe, or you can flip them for, like, a Liam Doyle or somebody else, right, that has more control for them. I could see that making sense for the Seattle Mariners. It just doesn't make sense to do so today. And so this is where I get back to, I don't know who these hypothetical arms are that fit into the criteria that we're talking about. I don't think they're going to be available right now. So I like the idea, T-Bone, of getting started on your offseason early. I just don't know who that team is, and I don't know who those players are.
I think
I don't think they exist.
I think they exist, but I think it's circling the Angels. I think it's Detmers or it's Soriano. I think Mo's trading one of those two, if not both of them. Because I think he realizes that they're in a terrible spot as an organization, and the only thing that they have on their roster of value is none of their hitters. I mean, somebody might be willing to trade for Soler and bank on, like, okay, maybe can find his swing again in the second half and be a right-handed bat force. That gets you nothing. The guys that will really carry value will be the starters that they have, because Soriano looks like a guy that could be maybe not number 1, but he could be number 2 for somebody, and he's got plenty of control. Same with Detmers. Even if I'm a little bit lower on him, that's a decent number 3 if you were to go into him with him as your number 3 in the playoffs. So I think those are the guys. But again, to me, it comes down to, are you really willing to move on from that prospect capital to make it happen? And that's the thing that I just don't see happening.
So Tim Britton put together his list today on, I love when he does this. It gives you an idea of what the cost is going to be for some of these assets that could be moved at the deadline. And he had the cost for Detmers as being similar to the 2016 Drew Pomeranz trade. And in this, he writes, like Pomeranz, Detmers is a former high first-round pick who's bounced between the rotation and bullpen before finding what looks like sustainable success as a starter this year. He has 2 more years left of team control. In 2016, the Padres parlayed Pomeranz's breakout season into a 1-for-1 deal with a top 50 prospect in baseball. Under interim GM John Mozeliak, the Angels have indicated they're at least going to listen on some controllable players such as Detmers. So a 1-for-1 deal, pitcher, top 50 prospects type of guy. I mean, that's, you only have like 2 or 3 of those in your system right now. One of them is Liam Doyle. Another is Rainiel Rodriguez. Maybe you could make an argument for Joshua Baez being in that range, but he's in most lists viewed as somebody that's a little lower on those lists.
We can end this conversation now that I'm not trading any of those guys for Reed Detmers.
Like, would you trade Liam Doyle straight up for Reed Detmers?
No.
I agree.
No.
Not for 2 years of control. If he had 5, maybe we could talk. But for 2, no, I'm out.
Yeah, Soriano's the one that I would be more interested in targeting. If you want to make that move, if you're Heim, I would be targeting Soriano in the Angels rotation. But again, I think that's going to be more. I mean, that might, with his control, you're probably talking 2 top 100 prospects. So and even that's probably uncomfortable for me.
Soriano has 2 years left of control as well. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. To me, that doesn't make any sense. You're not in that position to trade a guy that you drafted that high, that you're developing, to go get somebody that's good for you maybe for a couple of years and then either prices himself out or maybe he falls back down to earth. That's a lateral move to what you're trying to accomplish right now.
I don't think now is the time to do that.
No.
And I also think you're probably selling low on Liam Doyle because this year he's done so much to try to work on his breaking pitches that I don't think his value is going to go down from here. I think it's more likely to go up. So you might be trading away a guy that at this time next year is a top 20-ish prospect in baseball, whereas right now he's like a fringe top 50 prospect on most lists. So you're trading him for an asset that would be less than what you could get for him at this time next year if you really wanted to push it next year as well. So I don't feel the need to do any of this stuff. I think it makes more sense if they're going to do something to try to improve the roster right now, go get like a Robbie Ray, I guess, if that's what you want to do, where it's going to be a much lower asking price. He doesn't have the no trade protection, and he's only under contract for the remainder of this season. That's not going to cost you a ton. Or T-Bone has mentioned this in the past. Call the Mets, see what they're looking for Peralta. Yeah. That's the kind of guy that I think the Cardinals are probably going to be in on this year if they're truly a buyer. And I don't think they're doing that either.
And that's too expensive for where you're at and where your team's at to go out there and pay that price to get Freddie Peralta. Agreed. So I don't think any of these really make sense for the Cardinals right now. I think it's sell, see where your team's at, and then approach the offseason in mind of trying to continue to get incrementally better.
Here's another follow-up question. Last thing on this. Earlier today, Keith Law put out his rankings of the top, I think, 75 prospects in minor league baseball. He's got Tanner Franklin at 51. If the Angels called and said, hey, we will trade you Reed Detmers for Tanner Franklin, would you do that?
Can I get Soriano instead?
Sure. Let's say it's Soriano for Tanner Franklin.
I think I like Soriano a little bit better. That one I think I would consider.
I think I would do that.
Keith Law even told us that with Tanner Franklin, it's like, hey, he's got a really good pitch, but I don't know if that's going to match to the major league. I don't know if it's going to translate to the major league level in the mind of a starting pitcher that people are hoping for.
Yeah, we have no idea. So, and it might be a few years before you see him.
I would take an if for a certainty with Franklin for Soriano. That's the type of move I would do.
That I would consider. But I think that's the level, and I don't know that that's going to be enough for the Angels. I'm guessing they could probably get a better option from somebody else. That's in a contention mode right now where they're saying, hey, Reed Detmers might be the piece that puts us over the top. And for their rotation, he may be a number 3 or a 4, whereas for the Cardinals, he would probably slot in as your number 1. So like it would make more sense for the Brewers, for example, to say, forget it. We've got Reed Detmers for the next couple of years. He's cost controlled. He's really good. He can slot in behind our top 2 guys in our rotation. And he's just going to replace what we thought Woodruff was going to be for the rest of this season. But Woodruff is hurt now, so we'll go get Reed Detmers. Good. And they've got like 10 top 100 prospects in their system. Yeah. I think he makes a lot more sense for them than he does for the St. Louis Cardinals, personally. Agreed. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. But next, there's some buzz that St. Louis could be an option as a potential either relocation or expansion spot for the NBA. We'll let you hear this from a legit plugged-in insider next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here. The SportsCenter update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals salvage a game in their 3-game set out in Anaheim yesterday with a 1-0 win. Today, they play the Arizona Diamondbacks, makeup game that was rained out earlier this season. 4:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy will be on the mound for St. Louis. Brandon Pfaadt will get the start for Arizona. The SportsCenter update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
That's Alex. He's T-Bone. I'm BK. So I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast last night, Alex, on my run.
Probably wanting to find out where LeBron was signing, I would assume, by you.
No, I enjoy the Bill Simmons podcast. And they were doing a mailbag. And at the very beginning of it, he was asked by somebody about expansion spots, relocation spots. What are the cities that we should be monitoring? Because we all know Seattle and Vegas are very likely to get an NBA franchise, both of which are probably going to be for expansion reasons. So that leaves the question of what's going to happen if somebody has to relocate. Portland, there's some talk about that right now with their ownership group and kind of the way they're
inside there.
Yeah, the way they're operating. New Orleans, there's always been questions about Memphis. I know NBA players have talked a lot about that. T-Bone agrees they've got to go.
Not a good city, T-Bone.
So Bill Simmons was asked about that. Go ahead and take a listen on his response. I thought it was interesting.
What markets are ripe for an NBA team? Seattle and Vegas obviously lead, but where should the Pelicans go? They should go somewhere.
Honestly, Kansas City is, I think, a bigger factor than people.
Interesting.
They just hosted World Cup. That city's built for like big events now, and they used to have basketball before. I think Kyle's neck of the woods is another one. I think Nashville, even though it's too close to Memphis, is possible. I wouldn't rule out St. Louis. I think there's a lot of cities. Like, we never would have said Oklahoma City in the mid-2000s. You know, if you have hungry local rich people and you have some sort of arena, you could make a play for a basketball team.
You did this because they said Kansas City, didn't you?
No, because he mentioned 3 Midwest towns in that. Kansas City, Nashville, St. Louis. Those were the 3 spots that he specifically mentioned as, hey, people are overlooking these potential options as either expansion or more likely relocation spots. This is, to me, different than the speculation that we've done in the past. Bill Simmons is as plugged in as anybody in the NBA. Like, this guy doesn't just talk to, like, agents and stuff. He talks to owners. He's very plugged in with those groups. How much credence do you give this? Do you find this to be something that maybe has some more legs than what we've talked about in the past?
Yeah, I absolutely think so, because like you've said, this is a very notable individual who is making reference to potentially St. Louis or even these other Midwest cities. And with how much noise is around the NBA now with teams that are just kind of floundering where they're at, or the idea of the expansion, yeah, I put a lot more credence to this than what I've done in the past. I will say, just on the St. Louis side, not to be a buzzkill, but that felt like a throw-in versus Kansas City and Nashville.
That's why, like, to me, I'm not taking much credence in this.
Well, I think Kansas City and Nashville's real, though.
I agree with that. I think they are, because I think those two make a ton of sense. I mean, Nashville's been up and coming, as we have seen here over the last decade plus, and Kansas City's done a really good job of kind of molding into almost a new image to where, hey, they've got an NFL team. They're getting a new stadium there. They're making that downtown area, as BK has brought up to us before. It's a really nice downtown area. So I could see where, as Bill said there, they've been hosting big events. I could see how that has appealed to the NBA. St. Louis felt like a throw-in to me, to where maybe they're there if they can't figure something out with Kansas City or Nashville, but I think they're almost there as like leverage than anything else.
So the immature proctologist says no one's mentioned the fact that the Chaffetz family is now a minority owner with the Trailblazers. That's not irrelevant here either. That's what Alex was talking about, is we've got an inside guy with the Blazers. Chaffetz family is a big part of this. And just generally speaking, like a Hoffman family is doing a bunch of buying here in the St. Louis area as well. They've got the money to now have some kind of an ownership group, and that's a huge part of this, because it's so hard to get the money together nowadays to get in on an NBA team, NFL team, Major League Baseball team, because we're talking billions nowadays. It's no longer in the hundreds of millions where, like, Michael Jordan can leave and suddenly he's in on one of these teams. This is now huge, like, wealthy people that have to be involved. You can't just be rich. You got to be wealthy.
Yeah.
St. Louis has some families that could now get in on that at least. I find it to be really interesting. And part of this is, like Nashville, for example. Bridgestone Arena is where you would assume the NBA team would play, right? They have a ton of concerts that come through Nashville now.
Yeah.
And they may say, with all of the dates on our schedule, we've got the Predators and we've got all of these concerts. We don't have the openings right now for a potential NBA franchise. We don't want to block off 40-something dates a year to have that team here, which is what you have to do if you're going to have an NBA team. Kansas City, I think, could make it work with T-Mobile Center or Sprint Center, whatever it is now. And then St. Louis, like Enterprise gets some concerts, don't get me wrong, but it's not the kind of location or draw that Bridgestone / Nashville are for those big events. So I do think there's some potential here.
And it would be Enterprise, not Chaffetz, where they would play.
Yeah, for capacity.
Because Enterprise just got the upgrades, what was it, about 5-6 years ago? So, like,
it's a good arena.
They've got the upgrades. Yeah, it's a
Somebody
great
said,
arena.
where would they play in KC? No arena. They do have an arena. It's right next to the Power and Light Districts downtown. They've got an arena that would be ready to go for an NBA team.
Yeah, I do think there's ways to make this work. I just think when the idea of St. Louis versus these other big markets, and I say big markets with Nashville and Kansas City, just compared to where St. Louis is at and viewed, I think it would be difficult to get to that point. You'd have to get to where it doesn't work in Kansas City, doesn't work in Nashville, and then we get to St. Louis.
Or there's two teams that are relocating.
Well, and that's the local
and
ties.
Nashville says no.
Yeah, and that's the local tie.
Well, if, for example, the Memphis Grizzlies decide to move out of Memphis and they go to, let's call it KC, and New Orleans then decides, you know what, it's not working here. We've got to up and move. We're going to go elsewhere, and we're going to sell our ownership to a new group, and this team relocates as well. Maybe that's how you end up getting St. Louis as well. I don't know if they're going to want to be in Kansas City and St. Louis, but maybe that's the kind of thing.
It feels like it's one of the other.
Or if it's Nashville plus Kansas City, and the Grizzlies go to Nashville and the Pelicans come here. As a follow-up on this, how would you guys feel about getting a relocation team? Instead of getting the expansion where it's yours, you are getting kind of similar to what's been the case in the past for the NFL. You're getting a team that has a history in a separate market. Are you guys comfortable with that?
Am I comfortable with it? Yes, because I would just be, as a fan, excited to have an NBA team. But there would be a little PTSD of it being hurtful in the past with all the NFL drama that happened. But I don't think it would bother me right away, because it would just be exciting to say you have another pro sports team in your market.
Yeah, wouldn't bother me at all. I
agree.
mean,
I'd prefer expansion, but
I just don't see expansion coming until
it's so expensive, guys.
Yeah, and unless you're getting, like, you'd almost have to be the next round, right? Because I agree with you. I think it's
talking
clearly
like 15 years probably.
Yeah, it's clearly Seattle and Las Vegas that are getting the next two. Wow. Okay. I'll
and at that
going
point,
strong.
Enterprise might not even be like a spot that would be a draw.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd have to probably do upgrades again at that point.
But I would have no problem with it, because there's only 30 to maybe 32 teams, depending on when this occurs. Yeah, okay, I'm just excited that you have one of them. I don't care that there's a history to it or not. You know what? That city had its chance. It didn't work out. Now it's our turn to try and figure it out with this team. So, no, it wouldn't bother me at all if it was a team that relocates here to St. Louis.
Somebody says, I would want to completely change the name. That, I think, would be easy. You can do that.
Yeah.
It's just about, like, inheriting the history for
what were the
these teams.
Pelicans previously? They were Hornets.
The Hornets,
changed it to Pelicans.
The Bobcats.
The Bobcats. Oh, God, I remember those Charlotte Bobcats.
Yeah. So
those were fun.
inherited the Charlotte history, and then Oklahoma City is now the Thunder. They were the Seattle Sonics previously. Memphis got them from Vancouver, so that's where the Grizzlies come from. But
remember when the Bobcats poster boy was Adam Morrison, the guy from Gonzaga?
No.
You don't remember? Well, you don't remember that. You were probably like 3. Guy with crazy hair, mustache.
You don't remember him? How's before
what year
your time?
What year was that?
That had to have been
2000s.
I mean, I barely remember the Bobcats, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy. I can't really turn the computer to you, but yeah. Dude,
What year was it? Let's get the year.
He played college for Gonzaga in 05-06.
Yeah, I was in
So he
kindergarten.
was drafted Was he drafted? 2006. He was the 3rd overall pick.
He just always looked sturdy.
He
looked like he needed to take a shower.
He always looked like he needed a shower.
Like Brandon Marsh is this guy in 2026 where it always feels like, dude, why is your hair always wet?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
It looks greasy. It's not just wet, man. It looks greasy.
I saw a video of him getting ready to go on MLB Network at the All-Star game. And he literally dumped a ton of water on his hair prior to the hit. It's
like water with grease already in your hair. And that's what and Morrison had a mustache that just was hair everywhere. It was weird.
A little trivia for you, T-Bone. Do you know why the Lakers are called the Lakers?
You watched the Lakers
yeah, but I don't remember them talking about the name. No, it wasn't a documentary. That was a little TV show.
Yeah, recreation.
No, I have no idea.
Do you know where they played previously? Prior to being in LA? Alex, do you know?
No.
Minnesota.
Oh,
I figured they were by a lake.
Minneapolis. That's why they
I
were
never
called
really
the
even
Lakers.
thought like why Los Angeles is called the Lakers. I just kind of grew up with it and was like, okay, cool.
Okay, you accept it, right?
Yeah, cool. All right, you've been to Lakers. Don't really know the story. Good for you.
Doesn't matter.
Last thing on this before we get to questions and answers on the other side, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. Do you think if the team, let's say St. Louis doesn't end up getting this, and it's just they're throwing whatever, and it's Kansas City and Nashville that end up getting the relocation bids. Portland moves to Kansas City, Memphis moves to Nashville, New Orleans stays where they're at. Do you think St. Louisans would root for that NBA team? I'm not saying like would we talk about it here on the radio, because I don't know how much that would happen. Maybe a little bit, but probably not a ton. Do you think, kind of similar to how in Kansas City there are a lot of Blues fans, like there's literally a Blues bar downtown in KC. Mm-hmm. Do you think we would get NBA fans in St. Louis that would adopt the Kansas City basketball team as their team?
I think so. I don't know how large that group would become, but I do think people would adopt it because it's the closest thing to an NBA team in close proximity for you to travel to see an NBA team versus Chicago. So I think people would at least be intrigued by it.
Yeah, I think they would. I think you've seen that in the NFL. It's a great example of it, right? I think this is a Kansas City Chiefs football town. You know, I think you've got segments of people that root for somebody else, right? I mean, that's probably partly because they chose somebody else at the time when the Rams moved, or it is they just grew up rooting for that team. For example, like maybe you're from Indianapolis, and now you're over here, as Alex learned, somebody's a Broncos fan yesterday. I don't know why that's the case, but they still root for the Broncos. But I think when I go out and about during the football season, I see more Chiefs gear than anything else. So I think they've been adopted here.
But is that because they're good?
I think that helps. I certainly think that helps, and especially the timing of it. But once you start rooting for a team, you typically don't just like leave. You know?
Would those same people have become Chiefs fans if instead of the Chiefs becoming the dynasty of this era, it was the Colts? Like if you flipped the timing and the Colts now have Peyton Manning and they're the team that's going on this run that the Chiefs have gone on recently, and the Chiefs are what they were in, the mid 2000s where they were kind of a crap team. Do you think fans in St. Louis would have adopted Indy instead of Kansas City? Because proximity-wise, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, I still think there would have been more of an adoption towards the Chiefs.
You think?
Yeah. Now I think it'd been less. What
about Chicago? If it was the Bears,
never. Okay. I don't think. Yeah. I think he mentioned Chicago. I don't think anybody will root for a Chicago team. No, I think it would be KC for me.
Is that a state?
I think so.
Like
I think
it's Missouri.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it.
I feel like
I think for the NFL, like you would always. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong. I guess you'd probably be more my guy to point to here since he grew up in Kansas City. Yeah. I think the Chiefs would always just be the team that ends up on television when they kind of regionally break it out.
I don't think so.
Indy ends up on there a lot too.
Okay.
Yeah, Indy's a lot more than you'd think. And I hate Indy because it's got the weird time zone thing.
Well, you just learned of that the other day.
I don't know which is east or west.
If the Colts were better, they would get the viewership here in St. Louis. Same thing with the Titans.
And that's the thing with me. NFL is such a sport that I think you're rooting for the team, if it's not your local team, the team that's winning. Like, I feel like you're going to root for the team that's winning. There are diehards that will attach themselves to it, but the general fan would gravitate if Colts were having the same record and success as the Chiefs. I think the same fan would gravitate towards the Colts.
And we'll never know the answer, obviously, because this isn't the world that we live in.
The text line will tell us.
I just really wonder if that would get support here in St. Louis if there was an NBA team in Kansas City. I would think so, but I don't know. I truly don't know. I don't know how the draw would be across the state line. Again, I know in KC, they don't talk about the Blues on the radio, but there are segments of Kansas Cityans that are hockey fans, and they adopt the Blues as their hockey team. So I wonder if the same thing would be true if this happened in Kansas City. Thought that was interesting. Bill Simmons' podcast is where they had the conversation about what the potential relocation or expansion bids could look like beyond just Seattle and Vegas, which always get brought up. Nashville, KC, St. Louis, the three places in particular that were mentioned. All right, questions and answers coming up next. With Alex and T-Bone on BK, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Let's get to some of these right now. From the 636, guys, who do you think is the Cardinals center fielder? Excuse me. Who do you think is the Cardinals starting outfielder after the trade deadline? I think it's what it is right now.
Yeah, Newbar, Church, Walker.
Yeah. Either Newbar, Church, Walker, or Baez, Church, Walker. But I would lean Newbar, Church, Walker.
I agree. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line from the 618.
Carry the one.
Guys, I'm looking for a fun date night idea with my fiance this Friday evening in the St. Louis area. We are an active couple, so the whole idea of a dinner date, probably not what we're looking for. Any ideas for fun, active couples that could go on a date in the area? We've done escape rooms in the past. We've done some game lounges before. Just seeing what else may be available. We're in our mid-20s too. Thanks.
Yeah, this is all you, man. I'm not an active couple. Katie and I's idea of a fun date night is going to dinner at 5:30 and coming home and watching movies.
Yeah.
I'd say Topgolf was fun. I like Topgolf.
That's not a bad one.
Katie, I've taken Katie there once, and she doesn't like golf, but still fun.
There is a game show spot in Chesterfield.
That's fun. We did that with Katie's family.
If you could get a few other couples with you, it's a really fun night, actually. It's right over there in Chesterfield.
Like the district
area?
area?
Yeah, it's like right next to Topgolf, that big plaza.
I was just over there. I didn't even see that.
It's like
it's
back
next to
in
like
there.
the Four Hands over there in the district. It literally
Actually,
is just like, it looks like it's a strip mall spot.
Yeah, I think I did see it.
No, not the big one you're thinking of, because there's a big like game area. That's like a
Dave and Buster's kind of spot.
Yeah, no, this is like it's a little tiny building back in the strip mall.
It looks like it could be a place that sells games.
Yeah,
but
or
it's not.
a strip mall.
It's you go in here and there's like a room and you'll play like Wheel of Fortune,
Family Feud.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. That spot I think is a good one. Chicken and Pickle is a good one if you're active and you want to go play like pickleball.
I was going to say, what do you do with chicken and pickle?
They've got all kinds of stuff. They've got pickleball. They've got the oversized Jenga, Connect 4. And Alex, that's my game.
Yeah, I did see him play Connect 4. He whooped up 3 people
I'm really
in our
good
remote.
At Connect 4. That's my special talent.
Why is that?
I don't know.
That's my thing.
I didn't even get a chance to play. We were at the remote for the soccer at Hot Shots in Fenton. 3 people came up and he whooped them both, all 3 of them in like under 5 minutes.
I'm good at it.
I think he was
my thing, man.
I think they were throwing the game because they were big fans of BK.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Another spot, Blueberry Hill. Could play darts over there.
Yeah, love Blueberry Hill.
You could do some bowling somewhere.
I forgot there's a bowling spot not too far from there, if I'm not mistaken.
I haven't been bowling since high school.
The other thing, 2 years ago, it was a good spot.
There are so many good cocktail lounges in the St. Louis area now.
I saw there's a speakeasy
ton
here in St. Louis
that
I really want to go try.
There's one out in Cottleville. It's pretty good, actually, yeah.
That sounds miserable to me.
What?
A speakeasy.
Do you like cocktails?
Do you like drinks?
Yeah, but I don't like that with other people.
Well, I mean, you're sitting at a table.
Well, yeah, but there's other people around.
Well, so you don't like leaving your house?
No.
Okay.
My daughter, my 5-year-old.
Maybe I should have been asked this question, not Alex.
When we were at Holiday World,
I threw myself out, but it turns out Buzz Killington's not the guy. When we
were at Holiday World, Adelaide, my oldest, looked at all of us and goes, "Daddy, why are all these people at our vacation?" And I said, "Baby, you and Daddy think alike." I said, "I've never loved you more, baby girl." She goes, "Daddy, why are all these people at my vacation?"
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's my 5-year-old.
Alex, I think we could go out and have a really good time at a cocktail lounge. The 3 of us. We'll do that sometime. We'll go to a speakeasy together and we'll document the night for everybody to see on social media.
Then we can call ourselves friends because we do nothing outside of work.
There's a reason.
If you have a cocktail lounge and you'd like to do some digital media advertising,
if you want to advertise, I love cocktail bars.
We'd be happy to do so. Reach out to us on socials, and we'd love to do that. We could, you know what? We can do multiple of them. We can do a cocktail crawl across the St. Louis area with Alex, T-Bone, and BK.
Yeah, as long as my wife's okay with it, and I'm like 48 hours
you're
away.
Paid for it. She'll be good.
Oh, okay, cool. Absolutely in. I love me a good crawl.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Somebody said axe throwing, another great date night idea. That's something I don't have that in me.
Katie and I did that. That was, I was bad at it. No surprise here. So that's why I was like, okay. Because every time I'd throw it, it'd fall.
Yeah, I do it once. Outside of that, I don't know, that'd be a place I'd want to go more.
They got a fun laser tag spot that's up in the St. Charles area. I forget what it's called right now, but it's like actual like intense laser tag, which is kind of fun.
That's fun.
So if you're active, like that would be really cool to go out there and play that.
BK's Ass Sweat says, go to the Bud Terrace. BK will buy you a free beer.
Amen to that.
Only the $5 ones, though. All the way up at the top, Crown Bar. Meet me up there. 314-399-9646 is the text line.
Somebody said, do you guys have any fun date ideas? Ideas for me and my wife who hates people.
Who hates me?
Oh God. I read that one wrong.
The answer is movies, by the way. So that way she doesn't have to talk to you.
Yeah. There you go.
Fair.
Somebody said, didn't you guys all get trashed in Alton last year? 2 years ago, yes.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think it was 2 years ago.
That's why I said we can call ourselves friends again, because we can do something outside of work.
It was like 3 and 4 years ago, because the first year we did it was the first year we were together, like the three of us.
That's crazy, man.
Talk sports!
Yeah.
I actually need to get back in shape, so maybe I shouldn't go hang out with you guys.
Well, you got in shape that night. You were running up the street to find your car.
Somebody said on the text line, Bacon Wrapped Wiener sends this in. Guys, I heard this on The Point this morning. Would you rather take $100,000 in cash or have 100 chances to get a hit off of prime Randy Johnson for $1 million? Well, I know what T-Bone's going to say.
No, I'm taking the $100,000.
I'm going after a prime Randy Johnson.
Cool,
Looking
you're gonna have the
congratulations on nothing.
No.
I wonder what they said, because I would bet you.
I bet Rafe said it hit Randy Johnson.
That's what I figured. That was the guy that I was going to say with the irrational confidence.
I think Rafe goes for the money.
No. I bet you Rafe said 100K.
I think Riz goes for the money.
100 million.
Yeah, Riz absolutely goes for the money. Moon goes for the money. King Scott might say, I'll go for the million.
I could see him trying to go for $1 million, too.
I think Rafe's got some, I want the money in me.
Somebody, so this is our YouTube chat right now. Talk sports.
Talk sports,
like I'm
you
listening
losers.
to TMA. Dr. Xander. Talk less sports. The Paul. Talk no sports. Dr. Xander. More sports and less sports simultaneously.
Somebody said Moon wanted Randy.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Talk bowling, please, guys.
Oh, no, please don't. I'm terrible at it.
All right. 314-399-9646.
Everyone said 100K except Moon.
Really?
Wow, I would have thought Rafe would have gone
I figured Rafe was going to say, give me the damn money. I thought Scott would have said, give me Randy.
I'm going to guess Moon has that, like, irrational, I made it in rock. So if I can do that, I can go ahead and hit off of a Randy Johnson.
Damn, that was...
I don't know if I had to use irrational.
Yeah, I don't know if that's irrational, man. He made it in rock's not irrational. He's a hell of a rocker.
Well, you have to have irrational confidence to believe that you can make it as a rock star.
Or you're very irrational because you know
don't.
you're a badass artist.
No doubt, but that's irrational. Now, that doesn't mean that... Am I wrong?
You get the hell out of here. He's not irrational.
He was to believe that he could make it in rock stardom, but he did. Like, kudos to him. The guy, he and his band made it. But the odds of that are...
It felt Tony.
Incredibly low.
It did feel
like, Alex, if one of your kids said, I'm going to be a rock star, that's my plan.
Dad would be like, that's irrational thinking.
You're irrational, kid.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't tell her that.
You would say have a backup plan, right?
No, I would support her, but I would help guide her to a backup plan.
I would tell people behind the scenes she needs a backup plan.
I'm not going to tell my kid. Like when I went to my dad and said, let's go into sports talk radio, he wasn't like, that's irrational. Go get a real job.
The odds of us having these jobs was also incredibly low. The odds of us having these jobs beyond next year.
Very true. But my dad still told me, like, yeah, if you think you could do it, man, try it and go to school for it. He didn't tell me you better have a backup plan.
You sound like my grandma.
In the back of your mind,
to the part-time kid picking weeds and said, you should get a real job like him.
You guys don't think it's irrational to believe that you can make it as a rock star?
No, because it's not like he started doing this when he was 24 years old when he had responsibilities. He probably started this when he was a kid, and he kept practicing and getting better.
Absolutely, but the odds of making it were so
you're going to tell me when Luka tells you tomorrow.
BK's going to be on.
Yeah, I know. Would you tell me that Luka
this is not me talking trash, to be clear.
Is. You told him he was irrational.
He was.
No, he wasn't.
But he made it, which makes it that much more incredible.
So when Luka tells you tomorrow that I want to be an NHL player, you're going to tell him that's irrational.
I would tell him right now while he's 3 years old, yeah, buddy, you're going to be the next Colton Parayko.
But no, you should tell him he's irrational.
When he's 16, if he's saying the same thing, and it's probably not happened, I'd say, hey, buddy, let's keep playing, but like, let's have a backup plan ready to go.
Come on, man. Cool dad. Come on, man.
Not cool dad.
Kara's gonna take that down. Kara's gonna say,
if your kid tells you, Alex, when they're 16, we've got to get to break. When your daughter tells you when she's 16, T-Bone, let's go ahead and double. When she's 16.
For this?
Yeah. That she's going to be a professional dancer. But you can see, like, I don't know, seems pretty unlikely.
Whoa, man.
Let's be real here. Maybe she will, but would you say, yeah, baby, go ahead?
I'm going to tell her to pursue her dreams, but I'm also going to tell her you should look at other options in case it doesn't go.
Exactly.
But I'm going to tell her to pursue her dreams.
Sure, always chase your dreams, baby, but have a backup plan. And some people say, like, hey, no, man, I'm not going to have a safety net here. I'm going to live the starving artist life.
Bacon wrapped
wiener. And I'm going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, and eventually I'm going to make it.
Bacon wrapped wiener.
Most people don't, though. They just end up becoming guys that do gigs around St. Louis for $50 on a Thursday.
The world needs garbage men. BK Toluca in 10 years. No, I'm going to tell my kid, if you want to be a professional dancer, then you pursue this and you work your ass off to get there.
Yeah, and the odds are probably you're not going to make it.
Jesus, man.
I mean, I'm sorry that I'm being real 636.
I'm sorry that I'm being rational to my kids.
I'm going to change one of the words that they used here. You'll probably be able to guess which one. Somehow BK can both be right and also make himself sound like a jerk so easily.
Again, it's tone.
Yeah. It didn't feel like it needed.
The irrational.
Didn't feel like it needed to be in there.
You didn't need irrational.
Yeah.
You could have said risky. You could have said, who knows what could have happened. Uncertainty.
Cut that word out.
Just take out irrational. But instead, you and your tone ass has to be like, that seems like an irrational thing to do.
It is.
As a parent, your job is
not logical or reasonable. Not endowed with the power of reason.
Moon, T-Bone, and Alex love what you have done with your career. Don't listen to this
I
jerk.
do as well, but if
I would have supported you when you were
talked to him when he was 12.
I would have supported you, man.
I probably would have said, hey, man,
because I saw the talent and the voice that he had, and I would have said, man, you could play guitar and you could sing. You can do something with this.
BK'd be like, go work for the bank.
BK would have said, hey, the world needs garbage men. Get out there.
J.B. Rivers walking by right now. It was irrational for J.B. Rivers to believe that he was going to become an NHL player. And guess what? He beat the odds. It's incredible. The guy had a legit NHL career, which is amazing.
GYDS. Miraculously, you guys beat the odds to talk on radio. Yeah. And you know what? We do it.
Excellent. Doug's fat friend. We need a segment with BK's wife.
We did one. Don't you remember we did our wedding show? I think we should do that again. I think we should do an episode with our wives.
On the Dad Pod.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I'll have to find a different host.
This could have been a Dad Pod segment.
This could have been an episode that people loved. See, according to our YouTube chat. Talk more sports!
Again, if you want to sponsor the Dad Pod and you want to make it possible, we will do it. I just need it to be
pushing my daughter to become an architect. Hell yeah. And you tell her to do that to her best potential.
Yeah, she can do that.
Oh,
Coming
now
up next,
she can do it.
How many Cardinals are you willing to listen on at the trade deadline? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. All right, so the Cardinals at the trade deadline are probably going to be sellers, Alex. Probably. We'll talk about the other side of this here in just a moment, but I was reading a piece on the most likely buyers at the deadline last night, and it was basically everybody. It was over on The Athletic. They listed who the buyers are and what they need. Just to give you an example, these are the teams that they believe should be aggressive buyers. It's the Yankees, Brewers, Phillies, Cubs, and Pirates. There's one thing that is a common theme among all 5 of them. All of them could use relief pitching. All of them. And it was also true of the teams that are your typical buyers, like the Dodgers, Braves, Rays, Mariners, and Guardians. Basically, all of them could use a relief pitcher as well. You want to go further? Rangers, Red Sox, White Sox, dude, everybody needs bullpen arms. This is the time of the year where you try to throw as many assets into your bullpen as possible to try to shorten the games as you get into the postseason, because your starters typically go, 4 or 5 innings. So you're going to need a lot of arms to cover those other innings over the course of an entire postseason if you plan to win the World Series. So as I was thinking about this, made me wonder, all right, so we've talked about Riley O'Brien. We know JoJo's a possible trade candidate. Maybe Ryan Stanek as a pending free agent. You could put him into the mix as well. How many other guys are you willing to listen on, though? Would you be willing to listen on Matthew Liberatore if a team said, you know what, we don't think he's a starter for us, but we look back at what he was as a bullpen arm, and we think he could be a stud if we put him in the pen here. Luis Gastelum. We think that guy could be a 6th-inning guy for us, and he's got a ton of club control, and we love that changeup, and we want to change up in our bullpen to be able to play against either side of the plate. Justin Brule. Man, we could really use a guy that can give us a couple of innings just to, take the load off of our lefties for the remainder of this season. How many guys are you willing to listen on at this year's trade deadline? I'm not saying you got to trade all of them, but are there any players on the Cardinals that you're just like, no, I'm not willing to listen on that?
Yeah, I think that's an easier list for me to give you of guys that I'm not willing to listen on.
Okay.
McGreevy, Walker, Weatherholt, Burleson. I think those would be the guys that I would say I'm not willing to listen on. There's nobody in the bullpen that I'm not willing to take a phone call on. I mean, if somebody's willing to give me now, mind you, this is not me saying I'm just going to trade you for the best package available. It's something that is justifying me trading this piece away. There's nobody in that bullpen that I would say is untouchable. And I think 4 of the 5 starters are not untouchable for me. And then, again, I'm listening on Nootbaar. I'm listening on Herrera because I think somebody might blow me out of the water for him to where it makes a lot of sense for me. And all of these other pieces on my roster, I'm listening. And yeah, Mason Wynn's on that list too. I'm listening to everything because I'm not in a position to where I can say, yeah, I'm not trading this guy because I'm just not in that winning window yet. Other than Walker and Weatherholt, who in my opinion are core pieces of this team. And I think because of how lefty deficient you might be if you move on from Burleson would be one that I'm just not listening to yet.
I think the only guy that would be on my list of the untouchables would be Walker Weatherholt. End of list for me. I would listen on McGreevy. Again, you would have to blow me away to make that happen, but I would listen on him. I would listen on Herrera. I'd listen on Burley. And I get what you're saying about now you lose a left-handed bat. He's a first baseman, and I think they might, if you trade Burley, that means you're probably putting Herrera in that spot moving forward, right? I can kind of see where the collision course is coming to where they have to pick between those two. So I'm willing to listen on those two to see which one who gives me the better offer. Again, that's probably more of an off-season conversation than it is at the trade deadline. But the only ones where, if they call and they ask about that I'm hanging the phone up on would be Walker and Weatherholt. Otherwise, I'm listening on guys. In the bullpen, I'm open to trading Soriano. Gastelum, I would listen on. I would be more hesitant and wait on that one.
It's unlikely somebody's going to be willing to give you what it would take to get him. But if somebody called and said, hey, I'm willing to offer X, Y, or Z, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll listen on that.
Yeah, I think it's just those two guys. From everything else, I think you have to be open and honest about where you're at right now, and we knew they were in a rebuild. So you have to listen on that stuff and see if someone will kind of blow you away with an offer that they might offer on whether it be a controllable reliever, controllable starter, controllable bat. To me, you have to listen on all of those.
I think I have the same list as Alex. I'd be willing to listen on Burleson, but it would take a ton, and I don't think you're going to get that at the trade deadline. Same thing for Herrera. But I think McGreevy, Walker, Weatherholt, those are the three that I would be very unlikely to trade. If you trade McGreevy, I just don't. Like, who do you feel good about in this rotation next year?
And also, what are you hoping to even be competitive with next year if you move on from
Eventually, you've got to build a core.
Yeah.
And I think McGreevy right now is part of the core. I know he's not a number one starter. I don't think he's as good as what his ERA suggests right now, but that's a guy I'm building around long term. I think he's going to be here for the next 5+ years. So it's very unlikely I would be willing to trade him. Also, he's not the kind of pitcher that people try to get at the trade deadline, so I don't think anybody's really going to offer you what it would take anyways.
Agreed. On
the realistic side of things, T-Bone, you brought up an interesting one with George Soriano. If you're looking at the bullpen, I just mentioned for McGreevy, I don't think somebody's going to be willing to give you what it takes to trade for him. We've talked a lot about O'Brien, Stanek, and JoJo. Do you think people would be willing to give you what it takes for George Soriano? He's a really good pitcher, man, and he's a guy coming out of the bullpen that has club control. He's super cheap. He can be in the 8th inning for a legit contender. Do you think there's a scenario where he ends up going?
I think there's a chance because one, he's younger than O'Brien. 2, he's got 4 more years of control, which I know seems hard to believe since he's been in the big leagues for almost 4 years at this point, but it's been sporadic. And I think teams will look at him and go, all right, the Cardinals kind of did the hard part already. They kind of were able to kind of figure out what was wrong with him. Now he's kind of more of a polished piece. Maybe we can add a little bit more swing and miss, but he gets decent swing and miss. He gets a decent amount of chase. So the strikeout percentage isn't there. I'd be willing to bet on that, considering he has good rankings when it comes to the whiff and chase percentage that I just brought up.
He also has a pitch, right, that I can build an arsenal around with his changeup. I believe in that specific pitch.
And that pitch also helps him get lefties out, right? So, this isn't a guy that's kind of platoon heavy to where you have to fear if he runs into a lefty that, oh boy, now we got to really be afraid of what's going to happen here. I think it's possible. And the guy that I always go back to, I've been spending the last 2.5 hours trying to remember the name, and I finally found it, was Scott Efros, who got traded from the Cubs to the Yankees. And he had about 4 years of control. He was a sinker baller, and they got a top 10 prospect out of the system of the New York Yankees, did the Cubs when they made that move. They got a right-handed pitcher who was like a fringe. He was almost like a Hunter Dobbins, right? Now, again, maybe that wouldn't be enough for you to make that move, but that's kind of what you're struggling on. Maybe it's not a pitcher. Maybe you're looking at a position player, right? Maybe there's a third baseman in a minor league system that could be close, and someone says, yeah, you know what, we'll trade you that because we want another reliever for our postseason run. I think there's a chance Soriano could be moved.
And one of the reasons that I find this conversation so interesting is because I know for a lot of people, they hear this and they're like, well, what are you going to do in the bullpen, though? The rest of this year, it would be dicey. There's no doubt about it.
It'd be like 23? When they made a couple moves, and remember, Justin Lawrence was here. They just picked up a bunch of guys off of waivers.
But, longer term, Cooper Jerpy might just be a reliever for you long term. TK Roby, when he returns, maybe he comes out of the bullpen first and has a development plan kind of similar to Matthew Liberatore or Kyle Leahy. Speaking of whom, maybe Kyle Leahy bumps back to the bullpen. Maybe Matthew Liberatore bumps back to the bullpen. You've got options now that you haven't really had in quite some time as bullpen arms for the 2026 Cardinals. And then wherever you are light in the offseason, you just go get the next George Soriano. You sign the next Ryan Stanek. You make a trade for the next Matt Swanson, right? These guys are, I hate to say it, but kind of a dime a dozen. You can go get the next Justin Brule, and you get these guys off of waivers, Rule 5 picks. They did it last offseason. I believe in this staff, this front office, to be able to do it again. You're not going to go 10 for 10, but even this past offseason, they didn't go 10 for 10. Remember the Rule 5 pick that they sent back 2 weeks into the season? They missed on that. It didn't work.
I don't remember that at all.
Because they were able to make it work with George Soriano and Ryan Stanek, you don't really care about that because you threw so many different resources at the wall. A few of them stuck, and that's what matters. You've just got to have a ton of different options, and then when a few of them work out, you feel pretty good about your offseason plan. And that's what the Cardinals did last year. I think they can do it again.
Yeah. That's the one area that I've just grown a lot more faith than what I've ever had is the trust of the Cardinals being able to evaluate that talent from the outside. Everything we've seen this season are pitchers that are just blowing you away with some of their stuff, and a lot of it is swing and miss stuff or the elite pitches that they have or some of the position players. And, man, it was the one area that I never trusted Mo on. After about 5 or 6 years of just negligence in terms of pulling off those moves. It's like every time you made a move, I just did not trust the Cardinals. And now I'm getting to the point where it does feel like Heim's got a little bit more faith.
I do think that's a big part of what's going on right now. And I wonder if people would feel differently about their position at this year's trade deadline if it was still John Mozeliak in charge.
I think they would.
I think what happened in the offseason with them going out and acquiring a few starting pitchers in their minor league system that are starting to show some real signs. Brandon Clark, 103 miles per hour from the left side at the low A level over the weekend. You had Fajardo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, guy that you were able to get in the Sonny Gray deal, I think. He is down in the minor league system looking awesome right now. You look at what you've had in returns for Hunter Dobbins. Richard Fitz was exciting prior to the injury earlier this season as well. I think they've kind of earned the benefit of the doubt in how they assess other teams and what they have in their system. George Soriano, perfect example of that. That was one where they traded a guy that a lot of Cardinals fans were excited about. What was his name? Granillo. Had that big-time slider. He came in last year and had some big moments for the Cardinals down the stretch. It was like, all right, maybe that's a long-term plan for your bullpen.
Control, more options.
And the Cardinals said, no, we actually like George Soriano's profile a little better. And at the time, it was criticized. It was one of the only offseason moves that they got criticized for. Well, now, I think Granillo was DFA'd, if I'm not mistaken. Meanwhile, George Soriano is a huge piece of what the Cardinals are doing in their bullpen right now. So they deserve credit for that. Dustin May. It was a project that they took on that, listen, it's been bad for a month, but it was worth the money. It was a really good signing. You go back to the offseason, I don't know that there was a better pitching signing dollar for dollar than what Dustin May's been able to do for you. So I think the Cardinals and specifically Chaim Bloom's staff have earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to what they're going to get in return for whatever it does at their trade deadline.
Andre Granillo, a 7 ERA in the Washington Nationals AAA affiliate, a 9 ERA with the Detroit Tigers AAA affiliate, and had a 12 ERA with the Nationals.
It's been a disaster.
Yeah, that's doing what that's knowing your prospect and what the future looks like before other teams figure it out.
And another reminder. Now maybe he's a bad example to use, but another reminder how quick it just goes for bullpen arms, right?
Yep.
I mean, look at Ryan Fernandez. Remember how good he was when they acquired him in the Rule 5 draft? Hadn't been the same guy. Look at how good Swanson was last year.
It's why in that scenario you presented earlier of Tanner Franklin for Soriano, I would pull that deal off right now. Because I don't know what Tanner Franklin's going to become at the major league level. You see what Soriano is right now for the Angels.
Yeah, I just trust them to make those calls.
Right? Agreed.
Like, if they decide, you know who I think maybe could fit into this mix? If you've got an old school team, and I don't know who these teams are, but because there's so few of them now.
Angels.
Yeah, sure. If you've got an old school team that looks at the traditional numbers and says, Gordon Graceffo is the bullpen arm that we need.
Whoa.
I could see the I could see the Cardinals saying, that profile is going to blow up eventually. It hasn't yet.
Bite your tongue.
But eventually that's going to self-implode unless he changes the way that he pitches. And maybe they decide to sell high on a guy like Gordon Graceffo at this year's trade deadline while he still has an ERA that looks appealing to other teams. Again, I don't know how many teams actually view things that way any longer. They used to, but I don't think it does anymore. But he's the kind of guy that you could potentially sell high on at the trade deadline as well, if you can find the quote-unquote sucker to go ahead and make that kind of a move.
Oh, man. That would be bum.
I can't believe you brought this guy up. Why would you even think about trading?
He's like Jake Woodford.
You don't trade a fireman.
Yeah.
He's not Jake Woodford. Woodford couldn't get out of damaging situations.
No, in I think it was 22. Woodford had like a really good ERA.
John Gant.
Woodford's one I remember most recently because it was.
I didn't want to give up on John Gant.
Gant felt like, wow, this is not going to sustain. Graceffo doesn't walk as many guys, but it was. You look at the numbers and you peek under the hood, and you're like, no way. That was Woodford. And the Cardinals sent him down, and they're like, this isn't sustainable. It's like, yeah, but he's got a 1.5 ERA. No, go down, because it's not going to be pretty.
You guys are just jealous that your pitchers can't pitch like Gordon Graceffo.
I'm trading all mine.
Again, full kudos to what he's done this year. I just wouldn't buy into that long term. I don't think what he's done will be sustainable, but I will give him credit for what he has done. He has kept the runs off of the board, and ultimately, if we're just evaluating where he's been, that's been excellent. Where do I think that's going and projecting forward? Boy, would I be nervous about what he looks like over the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks to a couple of years. Coming up next.
But call it, Smo.
What is the most interesting camp battle for the Blues as we head into training camp this year? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals salvaged a game out in Anaheim with a 1-0 win yesterday. They return home for a makeup game earlier this year as they take on the Arizona Diamondbacks later on this afternoon. 4:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy on the mound for St. Louis. Brandon Pfaadt gets the start for Arizona. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Couple trade deadline updates for you. This comes from Robert Murray of Fansided, who does some really good work. He's plugged in around the league. Says he believes it's unlikely that the Padres will trade Mason Miller. I think we're all in agreement there, right?
Yeah.
T-Bone thought he was going to get moved yesterday.
I don't know. I keep flipping back and forth on if he's. I mean, it makes sense, but I can't imagine they're going to get
Yeah, I think the Padres are going to say.
The third best prospect in baseball.
I think the Padres are going to say we're going to buy because we're going to try and make the playoffs.
I think they're pot committed.
Yeah.
At this point, hey man, we traded for him to go try to win a World Series. I know we're out of a playoff spot right now, but if it's a lie, we're going to fight on that lie.
We also
got to believe in ourselves.
We also lost James Wood to go get and trade away Juan Soto. Dylan Cease isn't here anymore.
To go back, it's irrational, but you got to be irrational sometimes.
No, man, that's not the same as being a famous musician.
According to Fansided's Robert Murray, Toronto is trending toward becoming a seller at the deadline. His expectation is that Kevin Gausman will be among those potentially moved. Other teams are also eyeing Dalton Varsho, and they say that Shane Bieber and Max Scherzer could be available as well.
Man, I wanted Shane Bieber so many years ago.
Yeah.
Not the same anymore.
No. We talked a couple of days ago about the catching market that's out there. Shea Langeliers, Adley Rutschman, Hunter Goodman, all three were mentioned in a Ken Rosenthal piece. He said current expectation is that those star catchers are unlikely to be dealt at this year's trade deadline.
Alejandro Kirk potentially available?
I like
he's been
Kirk.
bad. He's been bad.
I think he was hurt earlier this year.
How
many games?
He's only played 31.
I think that might be why.
Still hasn't been very good, but never mind.
So, yeah, that's the update from Robert Murray of Fansided.
Yeah, this trade deadline feels like it's going to be a dud. Everyone's just going to wait for the Tarek Skubal trade, and then everything else is just going to be like, okay.
I think this deadline screams there's a big surprise, and I don't know where it's coming.
I could see that, T-Bone.
I think Skubal's just going to be the big one.
It's probably something with Prowler, but I don't know what he's doing.
My big surprise is I don't think Skubal gets dealt. I think they hold on to him.
Oof.
Would that surprise you? Because I actually would find that.
That doesn't surprise me. It would be a letdown.
They've given off those vibes for a while for me. I thought they should trade him in the offseason.
Yeah.
But
I think they buy. I think Detroit ends up adding and saying, you know what? We've got Skubal. Let's go for it. This AL stinks. Let's see if we can be the next Red Sox, where we go on a run where we win 7 out of 10. And we're right back into the thick of things in the playoff race, and we can overtake the Guardians. Like, we think we're a better team than them. If we had another starting pitcher in here, we'll be really good. Like, we go out and acquire Robbie Ray or Freddie Peralta or Kevin Gausman. Right? They go get one of those three. Suddenly, we're an interesting team. All right. On the blue side of things, Alex, we were talking about this a little bit before the show today. I find this camp to be more interesting than I have in recent years. I don't feel like they've had a whole lot of camp battles lately. Now, typically it's one young guy where, hey, is Jimmy Snuggerud going to make the team? And last year, all of us on this show were like, yeah, he's going to make the team. Like,
That's not even a conversation.
He's going to make the team. He's probably going to be in the top 6.
Yeah.
A few years ago, it was the Jake Neighbors conversation.
And Bolduc.
There's the Bolduc thing.
Last year was Carbonneau there for a little bit for kind of some of the noise they were putting around him at the end of camp.
But generally speaking, it's typically like one young guy. Will he make the team? And if so, where does he fit?
Right.
This year, I find it to be interesting because it's different. You have that young guy in Adam Yurachek. I think he's probably the guy that you'd pinpoint and say, can he get on this roster? They've set it up to where I think it's unlikely, but it's still possible he could earn his way onto it. I guess some may still say Carbonneau. I think that's highly unlikely given the way that the AHL playoffs went for him.
I do too. I think it's going to be talked about, though, and I think the Blues are going to pump the tires because they want him to compete for it.
Sure, and they should. That's totally understandable. I will go ahead and knock all of those stories down and say it's very unlikely until proven otherwise.
Is what he's saying, T-Bone.
I do think there are a lot of camp battles, though.
Yeah.
Both in terms of making this roster and also playing time. Like, where does Dalibor Dvorsky fit into the mix? How does Pius Suter fit into the current roster construction? Is Jack Finley going to be a starter? Or is he going to be a 13th or 14th forward for this team? Hey, Booch, you going to be in the top 6 or nah this time
How
around?
about Neighbors? Did you say Neighbors?
Sure.
Because, I mean, are you in the
Connor
top 6?
McMichael.
Are you in the bottom 6?
You could go with Theo Lindstein. Theo Lindstein could be your 7th defenseman. He could be in the AHL, or he could be playing with Colton Parayko.
Yeah.
I truly do not know where he's ultimately going to land. So it's as interesting when it comes to a camp battle monitoring situation as we've had in recent years. What do you find most fascinating about it?
Well, and on top of what you just said, like the defensive pairings, like who's playing with who? I don't think Mayu and Broberg is just a given that it's going to happen. You've now got Carlo into this conversation, who meshes well with Cam Fowler. I think that goes into the competition that we're talking about in the playing time is, where are these guys positioned in terms of who they're matching up with? Because we were talking in the office, and T-Bone, I know you said that that's not really competition to you, and I totally get that because to some, competition is are you on the roster or are you off the roster? But to me, competition is are you going to get top 6 minutes? Are you going to get to play number 1 power play time? Are you going to get to play with Thomas and Holloway and Snuggerud on power play? Are you going to get penalty kill minutes? Like, there's competition there. But to me, the part that I find most fascinating are those last 4 playing spots and the 2 extras, because they've got, in my count, 14 forwards that are fighting for 6 spots. Now, some of these you can say like they're guaranteed on the roster, and I would understand that. Like Bergeron,
T-Bone's about to yell at you.
Well, I don't yell.
He just has tone.
No, you're thinking of him.
Oh, okay. Like I would say Bergeron, Suter, Johnston, Toropchenko are all guarantees on this roster.
I don't know if I'm there with you on Bergeron, but fair enough.
They signed him to a 1-year contract. I think he's going to be on here even if he's an extra forward.
Say those names again.
Bergeron, Suter, Toropchenko, and Johnston.
I agree on the last 3. I just don't know on Bergeron.
I would say one of those 2, and that would be either Suter or Bergeron.
I think there's a chance Bergeron's placed on waivers if he's beat out with other guys.
Or traded by the end of camp.
Maybe, but I think they're going to view this as he had a good season last year. He's a third-line winger for us that we think can play.
I enjoyed Bergeron's game.
I did too. And so
I'm totally good with him being here, to be clear.
Yeah, well, the reason I had
Otto Stenberg could beat him out for that spot.
The reason I had the 6 spots, and you were surprised by it, is I look at that third line right wing, I look at the 3 bottom line spots, and then I look at the 2 extra forwards. Yeah. So I just mentioned Bergeron, Suter, Toropchenko, and Johnston. In my opinion, they're going to be there. Okay. But then you've got Finley, Dubé, Sundqvist, Walker, Stenberg, and then I'm putting 3 younger players in there because I know what you're going to say, but the Blues will tell you they're competing for spots. Dean, Kaskamaki, and Peterson. So I just listed.
You didn't mention Carbonneau.
I didn't mention Carbonneau, but I think Carbonneau's fighting for. I think Carbonneau's fighting for a top 6 spot.
That's fair.
I don't think he's fighting for a 4th line spot.
I'd say top.
That third line right wing that you circled that Otto Stenberg could potentially get. I could see that.
I think if they're going to give Carbonneau the spot, which to me is why it's going to be a difficult chance for him to make the team, it's going to be you out-compete guys like Buchnevich and Neighbors to play in the second line, and those guys are third-line players. And it's why I think it's an uphill battle for him.
There's a big difference between second and third line on this team.
Maybe not.
That's why I said I don't care about the quote-unquote Buch-Neighbors battle.
Yeah.
And that'll be interchangeable as we saw how much they juggled the lines last year.
Totally understandable. But, like, I just listed 12, and if you're going to put Carbonneau's name in there, it's 13 guys fighting for 6 spots. So, like, to me, that's going to be that's where the most internal competition's at.
And if we're being real, because you mentioned it, it's really 4 guys are locked in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to throw those into that mix, it's really 9 guys for 2 spots.
Correct. And
that is more than normal.
Yeah, and that's the Steen impact, because like when I think back to some of those Blues when Steen was playing, they always had a lot of guys in camp that were competing for those spots. They'd bring in PTOs. They'd bring in guys on minor league deals. This is back to what that used to be because, like, I kind of separate them. Like, I think Bergeron and Suter and Stenberg and Carbonneau are fighting for that third line spot. And then I think you've got Finley, Toropchenko, Johnston, Dubé, Walker, Sundqvist, Dean, Kaskamaki, Peterson all fighting for that 4th line spot. And all of them play different roles. So then you start to isolate it. Stenberg's competing with Bergeron and Suter to be a winger. You know, Finley is fighting with Sundqvist and Dean to be a center on that 4th line. Dubé's fighting for a 3rd line spot. So that's the part where I think it's fascinating because that's where your depth of scoring comes in, is not beyond Thomas, Holloway, and Snuggerud. It's what can your 3rd and 4th line provide at different points of the season.
Yeah. I find it really interesting going into camp how they're going to construct this whole thing and where all of the playing time goes. Yeah. and then who ultimately makes the opening night roster for the St. Louis Blues. Coming up in about 15 minutes, is there anything at this point that could point the Cardinals into buyer mode at the trade deadline? We'll get into that here in just a little bit. Junk Drawer is next with moves happening at ESPN that I wonder if this is the direction that they're ultimately going to go in. We'll talk about that next here on BK and Ferrario. With Alex and T-Bone on BK, so I've been seeing the layoffs at ESPN over the last couple of days. First of all, it sucks. This business is brutal, man. Nobody wants to hear us cry about what is like the coolest job in the world, but the lack of certainty on what your future is, it's brutal. Just be honest about it. And ESPN is no different than any other place nowadays. It used to be the spot where if you land with ESPN, you're probably going to have that job for the next 20 years, especially if you get on air and you have the opportunity to have a show built around you. It's no longer the case. Ryan Clark, who I think does a really good job on the football side of things, he was let go the other day, and he was let go during his show.
That's brutal, man.
Just, I can't imagine that. Carl Ravitch let go on the baseball side of things. Now, whatever you think of these people, the way that it was handled, I don't know that it was necessarily the best way to do it. Like, Carl Ravitch has been with ESPN for, I think, 30 years. He was told after his game that he did the other night, where the Cardinals were on ESPN for the night game, he had the earlier one of that doubleheader. He was on the play-by-play and didn't get to say, like, goodbye or this is my last broadcast or anything. And normally when you've got a guy that's that professional, has been with you for that long, you get that opportunity. But, Alex, I wanted to talk about something kind of separate from that. A lot of people are pointing to the guy that's on the TV right now, Pat McAfee, as a reason why this is happening. McAfee's show is reportedly going to get about $60 million in their new negotiation. Now, that's not all going to McAfee.
He's got like 6 guys on his show with him.
Yeah, and he like rents. It basically is like they're leasing this time slot to McAfee because he's got his YouTube page. He like owns and operates his show, right? It's just like a different thing than anything else that ESPN does. ESPN is now, according to a report from Front Office Sports, going to expand its partnership with other independent creators, including Josh Pate and the Bussin' with the Boys guys. So they're going to have a show each Friday where they are live on a remote location from some kind of a college prior to the college football games, which take place on Saturday. The reason I bring this up, Alex, is because I think this is ultimately what the future of ESPN is going to look like. I think you're going to have a lot of shows kind of similar to Pat McAfee or this Bussin' with the Boys thing or the SVP version of SportsCenter, which happens weeknights, especially during the football season at like 11 p.m. I think it's going to be character driven.
Yep.
And you've got First Take, which is basically just a Stephen A. Smith vehicle. You've got Get Up, which is a Mike Greenberg vehicle, more or less. PTI has been what it is because people just want to spend 30 minutes with Kornheiser and Wilbon.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of what the future is going to be, and it's basically the radioization of ESPN on television.
Yeah, it's character-driven, no question, because a lot of those guys don't fall into the camp of what I'm about to say. You know, Greenberg and Stephen A. Smith and Wilbon and Kornheiser, like, those are the old-school retro throwbacks because those are guys that I, like, love listening to. I think what you're seeing is the former players and guys that have relationship with current players dominate sports talk. Like the Bussin' with the Boys is kind of like what Pat McAfee show is to me. And the reason I think, because I'm not really into Pat McAfee, I don't think it's that entertaining. But I think the reason people love it is because he's got relationships with Nick Saban and he's got interviews and the ability to get guys on that you typically don't see. And you see it in a more casual set. So you have Aaron Rodgers coming on and talking about whatever he wants, and Nick Saban coming on and letting loose, and the Kachuk brothers coming on after the USA gold medal game. Like, to me, that's what it feels like the television side of sports and the podcast world is. Like, if you can get a tight relationship with the team and the players, that's what's driving so much interest because it gives you a peek behind the curtain that most other shows don't give you.
I think it's authenticity. I think one of the reasons why people like McAfee is because, like, he does this whole I'm raging against the machine, I'm an outsider thing. I don't know what he says that's particularly controversial. Anytime that I watch it, and this is not a criticism, it's going to sound like it is, but it's not, I promise. It's basically just, look at this. This was awesome. Look at that. That was amazing. Oh, my goodness. Look at how great this is. This guy is a stud. Look at how awesome he is. And just kind of that type of stuff, where he's got interviews where I do think they do a good job of getting important people on, important figures on, and asking questions that fans want to be asked. There's value in all of that. But I think people view Pat McAfee as like, that's who he is. He's just showing you what he is, and he's going to be truly and authentically himself. I think the same thing is true for Taylor Lewan and the guys with the Bussin' with the Boys thing, where, hey, man, this is us. This is kind of who we are. This is what we're all about. We just really like football. And we're going to go talk to football players and football coaches, and we're going to talk to them about things that we're interested in, and hopefully you're interested in it as well. That's what we try to do on this show, but in a very different way. I am authentically me.
Yeah, same.
You can love it, you can hate it, you can see it, but like that's kind of what we try to do. TMA, they are authentically them.
Yeah.
They are not trying to be something that they are not. And I think a lot of what sports television had become there for a while, especially on ESPN, it was very generic. It was very like sanitized, and I think people just want it to be, I want to sit down, hang out with the guys, and watch something.
It's the one thing
I would talk about with my boys.
It's more like newsy, right? Kind of, we're here to kind of just tell you what's going on. We always stick to the same format no matter what. And there's not really conversation unless there's a conversation of us asking questions to people that are bringing us news.
It's the one thing I've always felt like when it comes to sports talk, and it's why I love doing this show with you guys, because I think the best type of sports talk is when you feel like you're sitting at a bar with your buddies talking about sports. And I we can pump our own tires. I think we do it well. And that's what these guys do. They make you feel like you're a part of their group where you're sitting at a bar and you're talking about sports. And to me, that's the entertainment rather than what it's been in the past, which I know is still something of interest for a lot of people, to where it's just that it's that hard hitting, like this is the news and this is what we will talk about, and kind of talking at you rather than with you. And there's just a little bit of a difference in taste, and I think that's where you're getting at right now.
From the 812, guys, Pat McAfee is a big personality, and people also gravitate towards that. No doubt. No doubt. And he's becoming not just a media star, he's just a star in general. Like, the guy does wrestling stuff. I'm sure he'll be involved in movies sooner rather than later.
I saw today he's like releasing a music album.
A rap album or something.
Okay, see, this is why I don't like him.
But whatever. Like, hey, man,
it's everybody's taste. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like Stephen A. Smith. Hey, man, you know what? If you're successful and people are paying you and people are watching, that's all you can do, is you could be yourself and people will love you. But guess what? When they hate you, sometimes they'll also watch.
Yeah, I mean, you know what does really well? Stephen A. Smith talking about nonsense for 3 hours and being super entertaining while doing it. Mm-hmm. It does exceptionally well. There's a reason why he makes the money that he does. Now, it's not for me. Pat McAfee's show is not, generally speaking, for me either. But there's clearly an audience for it. I mean, how many people do you know, Alex, that listen to the Barstool stuff?
Yeah, a lot of people.
A ton of my best friends listen to all of the Barstool podcasts, right? Most of them not for me. I like the Part in My Take stuff. I think some of it's really funny, and they do great interviews. But it's not something that I have as, like, appointment listening. But there's clearly a market for it. It's kind of the, like, Joe Rogan, right? We go back to the politics landscape a few years ago. No, I promise I'm not going
Coming up next.
I'm not going far into it, I promise. But you go back to the presidential race as kind of the looking back on that. A lot of people said, why didn't Biden do something or Kamala do something like going on the Joe Rogan podcast? That was something that really played to a certain audience. I think we're seeing that now transferred into sports, where people just want the Joe Rogan that they can hang out with, that they don't think is BSing them on stuff and is telling his version of the truth, even if it is or is not the truth, whatever your perspective is on it. People want that in sports now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what ESPN is recognizing, and they're giving you more of it, whether you like it or not. And there are a lot of people that don't, and there are obviously quite a few people that really, really do.
Yeah.
Somebody on the text line said, Pat McAfee's contract is almost worth just his clips alone. Yeah. That's the thing. Digital stuff for these TV networks is as important as it's ever been. We're no different than that.
Yeah.
If you guys check us out on social media, you'll see us putting out a ton of clips every day. There's a reason for that. It's where a lot of the audience is, so you've got to be wherever the audience is going. T-Bone, you got any thoughts on this?
No.
Okay.
No.
We should start wearing sleeveless shirts like McAfee, though. Maybe that would attract more, although not in this freezer.
Dude, it's better today.
It is better today. I didn't like defrost when I walked out of the studio, so we're in a good spot.
It's a lot better today. All right, coming up here in about 15 minutes, it is Believe It or Not here on BK and Ferrario. It's a Thursday.
Yeah, well.
And we're actually doing it this time around. But next, at this point, is there anything that could happen between now and the trade deadline to get the Cardinals back into buying mode? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electricity, the company that has been making people comfortable since 1926 and has been taking care of my household since 2016. And it's just a company that I trust. When it comes to something as important as an HVAC system, you need people that have been doing this long enough that you can take their word and actually believe it. And that's what Classic Air Care was. I had an older unit when we moved into our home back in 2020, and I wasn't sure if it was going to get us through. And they came out, they checked it out, and they walked us through everything of how to maintain that older unit. And it got us all the way up to last year. So 5 more years of an older unit, and it worked like a charm until we finally had to get us a new one. They have financing options for you that you can get a new one with, so that's very helpful. But they also have something you should check out called the free second opinion. And what this is if you have a company that you've used in the past, they come out, they give you their opinion on what's wrong with your HVAC system. If you're not comfortable with it, you call Classic Air Care, you mention about that free second opinion, they'll have somebody come out free of charge and give you their opinion on what you think should happen with your HVAC system. So call them today, schedule online. Just do me a favor, tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Got a quick audible. Jeff Jones tweeting out moments ago, the Cardinals have a lineup out. It does not include Ivan Herrera. Jordan Walker's batting second. And as of now, no transactions. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK.
One more day for Bryson Mott, BK.
Have you seen the cleanup hitter today?
No.
No, I didn't even look at the cleanup.
Don't look, T-Bone. Don't look.
I've already seen.
Damn. Why do you do this, man?
What do you mean? It was right there when I looked.
Who's the pitcher? Is it a lefty or righty?
I believe it's a righty.
That's right. It's fought for Arizona.
Okay.
Go ahead and guess the lineup real quick, Alex.
Okay. Weatherholt.
Yep.
Walker.
Yep.
Burleson.
Yep.
Well, now we're at the cleanup hitter, and this is the hard part. Jimmy Crooks.
No. He's batting ninth.
Oh, okay. Well, Mason Wynn?
Nope. Fifth.
Jose Fermin.
Sixth.
Man, I'm getting great at this. Nelson? No, Lars Nootbaar.
Yep. Lars Nootbaar. Ding, ding, ding. That's your cleanup hitter for today.
Yeah.
Lars Nootbaar is batting cleanup. Your lineup.
Got to raise that trade stock.
1 to 9. Weatherholt, Walker, Burleson. Newt batting cleanup. Wynn, Fermin, Church batting seventh, and then Blaze Jordan and Jimmy Crooks. Those are your starting 9 today.
Pretty good, just not in order.
Ivan Herrera in the lineup. I think it was. Do we all agree it was time for a day off for Ivan Herrera?
A couple of days too late, in my opinion.
I probably agree with that. I think today makes a lot of sense. Day game after a day game, I guess, technically, like the weird late afternoon games. I don't really know.
The Paul Sewald day.
Yeah. So Cardinals back in action this evening. The no transactions part of that I find to be really interesting, though, Alex. We don't know for sure that they're not going to make a transaction. Let's make that clear. But typically you don't see a lineup this early and then get a transaction afterward. And I think the locker room is open at this point. Is that right, T-Bone?
I think so.
I would guess that's why Jeff has
it. And I'm guessing that Ollie will be speaking to the media here shortly.
The reason that I bring that up is because when you just to peel back the curtain, when you go into the locker room, you can see if there's a new locker available, and they would see if Dobbins was up there listed or if there was somebody else that had that locker. So I would think Jeff would have it by now if there was going to be some kind of transaction.
We saw that Dobbins was in the clubhouse with the Angels before that even happened.
So what do you make of this, Alex? That Dobbins is potentially sticking around at a minimum for today.
I just think, to me, this is look, we got one game. It's a one-off that we had to reschedule, and Dobbins did a great job last night, so we don't have to make a roster move to bring up a bullpen arm. We're in a good spot, so we'll go out there and we'll handle this game accordingly, and then I think tomorrow is when you see that roster move, when you start that next series. And we were talking off air, and I agree with your point. I think this is rewarding Hunter Dobbins. I think this is saying, like, you kicked ass, man. Like, thank you for what you did. Our bullpen is now set up to have a good day today against the Diamondbacks and stick around and get paid and have some nice prime rib with the Cardinals rather than going back to AAA. So I would have liked to see in a move, but I think this is just a matter of, look, we don't need to make a roster move right now. We'll make it before the next series opens up.
My guess is the only guys that are completely unavailable today are O'Brien and Soriano, maybe Gastelum. But I think you could technically go to him. Yeah. If you wanted to, it would be 3 out of 5, and then you're probably not going to him for the next couple. But you could probably go to him.
That's where your bullpen arm gets tomorrow, to where you don't have to worry about that.
Exactly. So I think it makes some sense to wait on this for a day. I thought they would do it, but with McGreevy on the mound, that might also be a reason why you feel comfortable with this. Like, Dustin May is on the mound tomorrow. I think they're going to feel more of a priority to get somebody here. If Libby or May were on the mound today, I wonder if they would operate the same way. Or if they would feel differently where, hey, we've got to potentially have coverage in the event that our starter goes 2 innings, which has happened with both of them at some point in the last month. So, T-Bone, what's your reaction to the possibility that they're not going to make a move today?
Yeah, I'm surprised, frankly, just because I would think you'd want an extra bullpen arm just in case something does go wrong. As much as I trust McGreevy, I mean, you never know, right? And I get it. I get what you guys are saying of you reward Hunter Dobbins. You got to think about the roster, and I'm a little surprised they're not making a move. I don't think this is we're keeping him up here and he's going to start in place of Liberatore. I'd be shocked if that's what Ali Marmol has to say.
That'd be awesome if it was.
I think it'd be the right move. That's why I don't think they're probably going to do it, because it's not the right move. I think they want to stick with Libby.
It is possible, though.
It is possible.
They say
this is what
the reason we're keeping Dobbins around is because he's doing what McGreevy did.
I was going to say, this is what they did with Fetty and McGreevy. They said, we're going to keep McGreevy up here after that Colorado start, and he made the next one and then didn't miss a start the rest of the season.
And then it's possible what they decide to do is, hey, Libby is available in the pen starting on Saturday. And we're not going to make a move because we don't need to. Because Liberatore, starting on Saturday, will be ready to go for us. And on Monday, when it was technically Liberatore's start day, Quinn Matthews is going to make that start.
Yeah.
And they probably won't announce that today. That won't be something that you hear probably for the next few. They'll say we're waiting and we're going to see what our options are at that time. But or we'll play it by ear. We'll see if we need Liberatore out of the pen or if he's going to start on Monday, whatever.
Well, I guess never mind. I was going to say the thing that doesn't make sense then is now you're then down essentially 2 bullpen arms, but there's nothing you can really do about that for today. You're down 2 starters that can't go to the bullpen, right? So, like, you're not sending Dobbins down, so you're down potentially a bullpen arm to replace him if you were to option him. And Libby can't enter the bullpen at least today because he's only in day, 2 of rest.
But you don't need him today.
So, I don't think they're doing it, to be clear. I think they're going to stick with Matthew Liberatore.
It's possible tomorrow, though. They could call somebody else up and send down, like, Swanson or Graceffo.
The more that we're talking about it, the more it wouldn't surprise me that they do this. I mean, it really wouldn't surprise me one bit. We've seen them do something like this before, to where it's just like all of a sudden they say, no, this is the direction that we're going. And again, I go back to that McGreevy decision. Like, I know the trade deadline was there and they moved Fetty, but at the time, Fetty was still on the roster and they said, we can't send McGreevy back anymore. Like, even if you don't like Dobbins and stuff, he's providing us a chance to win, and he's competitive, and that's something we need to keep looking at. It doesn't make sense for us to send him down anymore.
It could also be that they are planning to trade Dustin May at some point after his next start.
Yeah.
And that's the roster move. And they open up a spot in the rotation by trading Dustin May, and they're able to put somebody else onto the roster, either in the bullpen or as a part of the rotation there. Maybe that's the thing that they do. Or they trade Dustin May, they bring up Bryson Motts or Ryan Fernandez, and then whenever they need that next starter, which would be like next Wednesday, that's when you see Quinn Matthews. There's a lot of different directions that this could ultimately go for the Cardinals, but I is not one that I really thought about a whole lot. I can understand why you get yourself to this place. T-Bone, it sounds like you're maybe a little more critical of this. You don't seem to like it as much.
No, I'm okay if you're going to do it if he's sticking in the rotation, but I just don't get it if he's not going to be in the rotation long term, right? Because I would just say you'd want an extra bullpen arm up here. Just
For
in
today?
case. Yeah, just in case something goes wrong, right?
But even if the worst case scenario happened, they've still got coverage today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still would want that extra bullpen arm for in case something goes wrong, right? Because it's possible Soriano is down, and it's possible Gastelum is down. He's probably not since they're not making the move. But we've never really seen that. I feel like every time Dobbins comes up, he doesn't stick around a day. They always make that roster move the next day.
But maybe they finally have gotten to the
tells
point.
you something.
Yeah, maybe they've finally gotten to the point to where they said, all right, enough's enough.
That's why,
We've seen
like,
it.
I'm not trying to be critical of it, because to me it wouldn't make any sense if he wasn't going to be here long term not to send him down. I think he's here, but I don't know. I think they're going to keep him up here. I don't know. I really don't know what they're doing, because
I think he's just questioning if the Cardinals do it.
Backing Liberatore for this, like I think they're like 3 weeks late on moving on from Liberatore, just like they were 3 weeks late on moving on from Fetty.
Agreed.
Now maybe they've come to the conclusion finally it's time to move on, but I'm skeptical of that.
I'm really curious to see what this ultimately looks like. What we were going to talk about here was, what could they do over the next couple of weeks?
This was going to be an easy question.
Back into contention mode.
I was going to say
back
nothing.
into buying mode. Is there anything that you believe they could do, Alex?
No, not after you lose the series to the Angels. In my opinion, I just...
If they won every game between now and the trade deadline, you don't think they would become a buyer?
No, I think they might. I wouldn't buy into it, and I don't think they should.
Really?
Yeah.
Even if they won every game against the Cubs and the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yeah.
You'd be like, no.
The Angels still happened, in my opinion. And, like, to me, that, and I totally get, like, well, they just won these series against the Cubs, who are ahead of you. But to me, the Angels one showed me the true colors and showed me where your team's at. Your bullpen's in flux, and your rotation, I just don't think is a competitive one to do anything. So I would still be selling at the deadline and trying to get something for these assets. So, yeah, for me, nothing's going to change my mind. I think you sell.
If you went like 8-3 or better, I think you probably get back into where you were prior to this terrible Angels series. But for you to go 8-3 over this stretch, it probably would necessitate offense getting back to where it was and starting pitching stabilizing, bullpen looking better than expected.
Yeah.
Like, all of those things would have to happen for you to get to that place. I don't think that's likely. I think the overwhelming likelihood is this team showed you over the last week where it's at, what the deficiencies are, and why they're going to most likely become a seller. But in the event that you surprised us all and you go 8-3 or better, I think you're at that point 5 games above 500 for this stretch, so you're 8 games above 500 on the season. I think that would probably put you into a playoff spot, and it would be hard for me to believe that they're going to sell in that scenario. Like, true sell the way that we're talking about it right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because when I was running in my head, I was thinking win today and then win every series up until the deadline. And that gets you to the number that you said, 8-3 in the next 11. I don't think they can do that. And I would also add a caveat there. It'd be hard to do this without this happening, but you almost have to do that like in convincing fashion. And what I mean by that is it can't be like the Royals series where you win a game 12-10, and that happens a lot through this stretch. Because then I would just be looking at going, okay, your offense isn't going to be hot for this much longer out of this.
Or that's how you can convince yourself, hey, our offense is awesome. If we just get a little more pitching.
Oh, I'd look the other way on it, just because I don't think you can get enough pitching to fix that big a problem.
So basically, we're evaluating if the pitching's real.
Yeah.
Or if the pitching can get back to kind of more of what they were the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, well, and it's not just the Angel series. It's the Diamondback series. It's the Royals series. It's the Twins series. Yeah, no, they're the Spider-Man meme, and you lost to Spider-Man.
Well, Spider-Man's cool.
New Spider-Man movie out right now alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, believe it or not, next year on 101 ESPN.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
free.
Flying away on a wing in a prayer.
Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just me.
I had some heart in that one.
399
What's the towel wave?
9646. That's your comfort service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We'll tell you if we are believing it or not here on 101 ESPN.
Daughters are big into singing right now. Elsa Let It Go is back for my little one. Sings it all the time. My oldest is now starting to sing Spice Girls.
Nice.
Yeah. And then my middle one just sings whatever she wants.
I don't know that I know a Spice Girl song, but man. Nice.
We're a Coco family. We watch Coco all the time. The Disney movie. That one.
What was that, Coco?
We had to watch it. I was thinking something else.
You were thinking of Coco Melon.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. That's
Love
what I was
that in
thinking
our
of.
house. Love that in our house.
Coco. That's a solid movie. In Spanish class in high school, we had to watch the movie like 10 times.
I like Encanto more than Coco.
Really?
Yeah, I like the music. I like the music in Encanto more.
Yeah.
I like Coco more. And then we are also, Skinny Marinky Dinky Dink. That's the other song that
God
you
bless
like.
you. What did you just say? Skinny Marinky Dinky Dink.
Yep. Skinny Marinka Dinky Dink. Skinny Marinka.
God, that just sounds annoying.
That's his.
Danny Go is big in ours.
Yeah, Danny Go.
The Choo Choo Train one, they love that one.
Oh, dude, he had his Choo Choo Trains out the other day.
Yep.
He was laying down the track and he was doing the Danny Go song to him putting the tracks down.
And the Sharks in the Water is the other one. When my girls are swimming in the pool, every once in a while they'll go, Sharks in the Water! Yeah, we rock out every once in a while, T-Bone.
The Candy Cane one? Pretty good.
That's a good one, too.
Surprisingly good.
The Monkey one is a big fan in our house. Yeah. The Halloween as well.
We've graduated from Miss Rachel. No more Miss Rachel.
No Miss Rachel, huh? R.I.P.
We're done.
R.I.P. Yeah.
Blippi is big in our household right now.
Yeah, I stay away from Blippi. I can't handle that.
Ooh, try.
Yeah.
Stay as far away from it as you can, T-Bone.
And then every once in a while, your kids will just start singing random songs. The other day, my Emma woke up and she walked out of her room and she's like, come, Camille. I'm like, we don't even listen to that song.
Where's that song from?
I have no clue.
I've heard that before.
She just
That's why I don't know why I know it.
I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, we wish we would have avoided Blippi. But it was showing at daycare, which means
can't control
comes
it.
Home.
But believe me, we avoided Blippi as much as possible.
I will give him credit for this. He does a really good job of teaching things in his videos, so at least it's not just complete brain rot.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I don't like Coco Melon as much, because it does feel like just complete brain rot. But, you do what you need to when you got kids, T-Bone, especially 3 of them. If I got to put you in front of the TV for 10 minutes, you're going to sit there.
Yep.
Call me a bad dad all you want. But I'm trying to make dinner and leave me alone.
Haven't you seen the new Toy Story? That's the whole thing, man.
Yeah, but that's a tablet, and I don't do tablet.
All right, let's get into Believe It or Not. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Talk sports, you idiots.
Believe it or not, Alex, Hunter Dobbins is going to be around and continue to make a turn every 5th day or 6th day in the rotation.
Now, I'd say not believe it. I as much as I want it to happen, I think they're probably going to wait till post-trade deadline, send him down, get him back up after the trade deadline, dust settles, and I think the next one will be Quinn Matthews, so they get to see him once before they go into the deadline.
I'm going to say not believe it as well. It doesn't mean I understand why he's technically here today, but I don't think they're making the move with Libby yet. They keep saying they want to stick with him, and we're working on the stuff, and I've heard stuff from people in the organization about the model says. I think they're sticking with Libby, so I'm not going to believe it.
I'm so ready to be hurt again. I'm going to believe it. I think he sticks around.
Poor guy.
Alex.
Poor guy. All right, guys. We just talked a little bit ago in the show. If you missed it, check it out on the podcast afterwards. Of all the competition they've got, believe it or not, the Blues should look at another winger to add to their roster on a buy low candidate, Eeli Tolvanen.
You're going to have
Never
to
heard of him, so not believe it.
Used to play for the Predators. Just played the last 4 seasons with the Seattle Kraken. 16 goals, 23 goals, 12 goals. The report right now is that he can't really find a deal for what he's hoping for. Could be one of those 1-year deal to let you play and be a third-line winger for the team.
They don't need a guy like this. This is Otto Stenberg.
Actually, worse defensively than Otto Stenberg.
I would just rather have Otto Stenberg in the lineup.
Yeah.
So no.
But you get him.
Not believe it.
Then you trade him at the deadline.
No. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not believing this either. I don't want another forward on this team. If you're going to make a trade, make a trade for defenseman.
I don't need another short guy. It's not a short guy summer.
Oh, your irrational thoughts again once?
Yeah.
Huh? He can't play hockey, obviously, because he's short.
Just because we're short doesn't mean we can't do
If
great
only
things.
if only Ely's dad told him you can't play in the NHL because you're short. It's an irrational thought. Get a backup plan.
T-Bone.
Guys, believe it or not, we will see the Cardinals trade away a position player, a starter, and a bullpen arm.
I'll say not, because I don't think they trade away a position player.
Yeah.
I could see the starter, the reliever. I think they trade away some pitching, but I don't think they trade away a position player.
If you told me that before next season, I'd say believe it 100%. But yeah, I don't think the position player that's going to go, in my opinion, would be Lars Nootbaar, and I just don't think they're going to trade him.
I could see them move a catcher. I could see Pages
or Velasquez,
go,
I guess.
Velasquez go. I think they've got options. I'm just going to say not. I do think it's a lack of supply on the market, which could make their guys more interesting to other teams, though.
Yeah, I'm going to say not believe it because I think they move potentially a starter, definitely a bullpen arm or two. I'm with you guys. I don't know about the position player. I've thought about maybe they would move a catcher, but I'm not convinced that they're going to get what they would want to do that. I don't think they're going to move Nootbaar. I think that's an off-season move. And then I think at that, like where they're at today, I would just hang on to Velasquez, right? He can help you as you kind of quote-unquote compete for the playoffs, and you're not going to get really anything but a lottery ticket for him anyways.
From the 573, let's get to some of these from the text line. Guys, believe it or not, Matthew Liberatore will go on to become an effective major league reliever in his career.
Believe it. We've seen it. And I think if you put him in there, I think you could have a high-leverage lefty that could become a closer for you at some point.
I will say not believe it.
Oh, cool. I'll just go bleep myself.
I wasn't going after you. I was going after Liberatore.
Okay, sorry.
I don't see enough there for him to get back to being an effective reliever. I see a guy that has one pitch and he doesn't have a fastball. And you got to have two pitches still to be a good reliever. I don't know. I would lean towards not believe it.
I'll say believe it. I agree with Alex. We've seen it before. I think he'll be able to do it again. Believe it or not, from Doug's Ding Gong, the Blues will win at least one playoff series this year.
Not believe it.
Yeah, I'll say not believe it. I think they could get in and anything can happen. I just don't think Binnington's going to be the guy. And I think Hofer might be the guy. And I don't know what Hofer looks like in the playoffs yet.
Yeah, I'm just not sure they're going to make the playoffs. If they get in also, like you said, it'll be they scrape by and get in, and then you're going to run into one of those juggernauts in the first round, which good luck.
Yeah, sweep it. Believe it or not, from Soggy Biscuit, the return of Patrick Kane to the Hawks, the Blues should give Vladdy a call.
Yeah, now that's the winger you're talking about.
No.
Let's bring the band back together, man.
Vladdy is not ready to. Vladdy is not going to come here and be okay with being a third line player and not getting power play time. Not going to happen. I'd rather do Perron than Vladdy.
I'd rather do neither.
I think Perron matches more for a third line role with a veteran presence than what Vladdy does.
That's fine. Again, I would rather do neither, but yes, I do think that Perron of the two would be preferable. From Low Life Dad, believe it or not, the Rays are the team that ends up trading for Tarek Skubal. I said earlier, I don't think he gets traded, so I'll say not.
Yeah, I don't think he does either. Rays are a fascinating one, but Rays are in a team that's going to trade for a Tarek and give him a contract. So
I'm not believing it either. If they trade for him, it'd be awesome. But the Rays do this every freaking year. They're always the team that, hey, look, we're trying. And then, like, you look back, yeah, but you never landed anybody. Remember, they were in on Freddie Freeman for giving him a contract. There was reports of Ohtani.
Yeah,
all of a sudden, these reports emerge that they're in on Ohtani. Yeah, okay. Sure.
Okay, tough guy.
From the 314, believe it or not, Hofer starts more games this year than Binnington. I'll believe that.
Yeah,
I think he's your number one goalie.
I think you're going to see the succession plan take place to where they're going to play Hofer probably, and it's not going to be a lot.
Like the show?
Maybe. It's not going to be a lot, though. It's going to be close to a 50-50 deal because that's how David Alexander works. But, yeah, I think you're going to see Hofer get like 50 or 42, and then I think you're going to see, or not 42, 44 and like 40 or something like that.
Yeah, agreed. I believe it.
Yeah, I think it's closer to like 50 and 32. 50, or is it 84
it's
games
84
this year?
games, so yeah, 50-34. Yeah. That's why I think it won't be as much for Hofer right away.
No Nolan Arenado in the lineup for the Diamondbacks.
Way to
today.
read the room, Torey Lovello.
Did Paul Sewald travel with him?
I would assume so.
I thought he was hurt.
That'd be great.
I don't know. One or the other.
Unbelievable.
There's a lot of mumbling taking place.
No Nolan
DK's
Arenado
right. Fire
in
that
the
manager.
Diamondbacks. Yeah, that guy stinks. No Nolan Arenado in the Diamondbacks lineup for today. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, which of these starters is going to be a better long-term answer for the Cardinals? I think the answer might surprise you by what one national analyst has to say. We'll get into our thoughts about it next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK, and it is time for you to unlock your inner champion. There's one place to do so. That is Victory Men's Health. You can check them out today in the St. Louis area, where they've got 4 great locations across the metro. You can also check them out online at victorymenshealth.com. And when you get over there, first you can read about all of the different services that they can offer you, or the supplement shop that they have. That's what I personally take advantage of over at the Victory Men's Health spot. And when you get there, you can learn about testosterone optimization, what they can do for your weight loss, sexual health. They also have red light therapy programs. They can test for your micronutrients. It's all over there at victorymenshealth.com. And then once you learn what it is that you want to do to unlock your inner champion, go ahead and book that first appointment online. victorymenshealth.com. Put in your name, email, phone number. Tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion today. That first initial visit is going to be a consultation with a licensed medical provider. They'll take all that lab work for you, and then they'll discuss a personalized plan for you to unlock your inner champion today. Go to victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals beat the Angels yesterday 1-0 as they salvage a game in that 3-game set out in Anaheim. They return home today as they get ready to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. 4:15 will be first pitch later on this afternoon. Brandon Pfaadt gets the start for Arizona. Michael McGreevy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alex, I mentioned earlier, over on The Athletic, they have their updated list of the top pitchers in Major League Baseball. Top starting pitchers in Major League Baseball.
I would imagine Cardinals have...
0 in the top 50.
Oh, okay.
0 in the top 50.
You didn't even let me guess.
They do have Dustin May at number 57 overall, ahead of Freddie Peralta, by the way.
Trade him.
Find that kind of interesting.
Peralta, by the way, candidate for a pillow deal next offseason.
Cardinals?
Might it be in St. Louis?
I could see that.
See, you got to move Dustin May, though.
I think he'll be QO eligible, right?
Not if he gets traded.
Ooh. Root for him to get traded at the deadline.
Also, I don't know that the Mets will give him a QO.
Too expensive.
Because I think they get a later pick, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think it's like they get like a 3rd or 4th round pick, essentially.
Still too expensive to trade for.
So anyways, number 55-ish on this list is Dustin May. They have 2 other Cardinal starters in the top 100. Can you name them, Alex?
McGreevy?
Yep.
And not Libby. I'll say Leahy.
Leahy is the other. Who do you think's ranked higher?
Well, it's a BK game, so I'm going to go with Leahy.
I think Leahy as well.
Leahy's at 88.
Stuff would play better.
Michael McGreevy's at 89. Who do you think is the better long-term starter for the Cardinals between those two, Alex?
Flip a coin. I think they're both kind of the same, but I would go with McGreevy just off of the attitude we've seen from him and just the style of pitcher he is. I would go with McGreevy.
Am I crazy for saying I don't think it's close? Yeah. Is that unreasonable?
No, because I think the best bet is McGreevy. I can get the upside play on Leahy.
I just feel like their stuff is the same.
But I think he's nothing more than a upside bet. I think Leahy's stuff could be better, but that's why, again, I say it's more of an upside play. I like McGreevy. His stuff, like, generally sucks according to the models. But, man, he's just a throwback pitcher, right? He's like Kyle Hendricks, Adam Wainwright. I'm going to pick the corners, and you're not going to hit me very hard.
I think he's an outlier. I think he's really good. Like, I know that his stuff does not grade well. Like, on this model, his stuff is at 82, which means that he's, like, well below league average when it comes to the way that his stuff plays. I don't think there's another one even close to him that has stuff that bad in the top 150-ish over on The Athletic. I'm looking through right now. I have not seen anybody that has stuff as bad as his. I just trust him. Like, when that guy goes out on the mound, he'll be out there later on today. I trust that he's going to give you 6 quality innings. And maybe that's going to blow up eventually. It's entirely possible that it will. But I don't know, man. That's got to mean something, right? Eventually, doesn't that matter? Doesn't that tell you that, hey, this guy's just a really good pitcher? No?
I feel like their stuff is just the same. And yeah, I would give the slight edge to McGreevy, but I mean, I feel like we've been saying the same thing with Kyle Leahy over these last couple of starts of like, man, he goes out there and he hits the zone well, he gets good contact, and his defense is helping him out. He's an effective pitcher.
Maybe this is a me problem. I don't trust Leahy the way that I trust McGreevy.
Well, I think that's fair because I trust McGreevy more than I trust Leahy.
Yeah.
I just can get people dreaming on Leahy because he throws everything.
Yeah, well, and I also saw Leahy get lit up early on in the season, too. I haven't seen that with McGreevy. So, yeah, I would trust McGreevy more.
I also think for McGreevy, and I don't know if I'm going to portray this well, but I think the tough part with a pitcher that has to rely on his command so much is if his command is just off slightly, he can't live through it. And the reason I say that is, like, look what happened with, like, Michaelis, right? I don't know that Michaelis' stuff was significantly worse last year than it was, like, 3 years ago. His command was worse. And guys like, he's probably not the best example of this, but guys that have some decent swing and miss stuff can live on missing location. McGreevy can't. I mean, McGreevy misses, and instead of catching the outside corner, it's a little bit more in the middle of the plate. yeah, it's going to get hit a lot harder. And that doesn't mean it's going to be a base hit, but then once you start putting the ball in play, you're talking about your probabilities and all that stuff with the numbers. That's why I think those kind of guys aren't appreciated in the game anymore. And it's why everybody's chasing swing and miss.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I view a guy like Michael McGreevy as this guy's always going to have a job for me in my top 4 of my rotation. Yeah. And you get to a playoff series, like ideally he's not going to be a huge part of it, but I think he's probably your 4th guy. And I think you look back at some of these recent teams, even the ones that went to the World Series, they had somebody like a Michael McGreevy for the most part in their rotation, where he would start a day and you'd be like, man, I can't believe that guy's starting in the playoff game or like in a World Series game. It just always happens. So I trust this guy. I think he is, among all of the pitchers currently on the roster, he is the guy that I would pinpoint and say, I have the most confidence that 5 years from now he's going to still be here. And he's still going to be relatively effective. I don't know if that's like a 4.2 ERA or a 3.2 ERA, but I think it's somewhere probably in that range. And I view him as being the most likely candidate to be there over anybody else, not just in the rotation, but overall on this pitching staff.
There are no dumb questions on the show, so I'm going to ask a question here.
Debatable.
Is that because of the way the Cardinals appreciate McGreevy, or is that the way baseball appreciates McGreevy, to where no one else would probably trade for him?
Fair. Maybe a little bit of both.
I would kind of view it is he's here while you don't have better options, and not because A, I kind of trust him, but B, as we said earlier when we were talking about this, I said during the segment of who would you take calls on, I said I would take calls on McGreevy, and one of you said, I think it was BK, I don't know that people are calling about that profile of pitcher, and I think that's probably true.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get, like if he were an expiring deal, I think he'd be more likely to get a call that would be worth whatever his asking price is, right? But right now, given the control, I'm talking more about the control on him, I don't think A, with the profile, and B, with the underlying numbers, and C, with the control that remains, you're not going to get an offer that pushes you off of potentially having him around for the next 5 years. But for me, like if I was another team and we get to the offseason, I would be interested in acquiring a guy like Michael McGreevy. Great clubhouse dude, pitches his ass off, is always durable, and I think that's something that goes a little under the radar with McGreevy. Dude, look back at what he did in the minor leagues. This is not just something where he's become a consistent starter at the major league level. In the minor leagues, he's one of the only guys from their system that has just consistently gone out there and started games. We're just always available every 5th day. You can go all the way back to 2022. Here are his starts by year in the Cardinals minor league system, okay? 28, 27, 31, and then last year 32, this year 19 so far. Guy goes out there every 5th day and is going to give you 150 plus innings, regardless of the level, regardless of the competition, and his ERA by year 4.41, 4.37, 4.29. I know what he is. It doesn't matter the competition level. It doesn't matter where he's at. The guy is going to go out there, give you 6 innings, give up 2 to 3 earned runs, and give you a chance to win every single game. That is a guy that I want in my rotation every 5th day. Meanwhile, with Kyle Leahy, I've seen the dude be bad. I've seen the dude be good. I've seen the dude be somewhere in between. I've seen him in multiple roles. He's got value. It just ain't the same value to me as a Michael McGreevy, personally.
Yeah.
I mean, my only thought with it, and I agree with everything you said, I just don't know what that style of pitcher. Like, he's a workhorse. There's no question about it. I love the attitude. He could look more like Leahy next year just because of the style of pitcher he is. And to me, like, I feel like McGreevy is successful because he pitches at Busch Stadium and he's got that incredible defense. And that's not a bad thing. Like, if you fit an identity in a ballpark, man, you can make a hell of a career out of it. I just don't know if I feel like it's night and day different from Leahy because it just isn't that swing and miss stuff that always plays.
News in Major League Baseball, the Mariners have fired their assistant hitting coach.
Boy, they do that like every year.
Yep.
Man, their team's been pretty good.
Wait, why the assistant? Why not?
Well, hey, it's his fault, man.
Hold on.
That's a BK move. Fire the guy below you. This guy sucks.
What a weird year it's been for the Mariners, man. This is a team, like, their starting pitching is so freaking good. Like, you look at the way that they're constructed, and it's like, yeah, so you've got Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu, Emerson Hancock, Bryce Miller, and Luis Castillo, just for good measure. And if that's not enough, hey, you've got 2 of the top 10 prospects in Major League Baseball, both of whom are pitchers. They're going to be up sooner rather than later as well. So you've got 8 legit starting pitchers that can come up and be really good at the major league level. Then you look at their lineup, they all stink for the most part.
Yeah. Dude, Cal Raleigh's been terrible.
Awful. 570 OPS. He's batting 165, Alex.
Jesus.
By the way, you know where he hits most games? Cleanup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that was the home run derby problem. It just was a lasting effect from the full season.
Brendan Donovan, 840 OPS on the season. Do you know how many games he's played, Alex?
It's got to be less than 60 because he was injured a decent amount of time. I'll say
He's still injured.
Is he really? So I'll say 45.
I think it's 25.
Oh, my gosh.
He has not played since May 15th.
What a trade.
It is July 23rd, man.
What a trade.
I hope that guy comes back soon. He's in his rehab stint right now, so he's expected to be up sooner rather than later. He just got up to the AAA level to start his rehab stint up there, but man, that's 2 months of being on the injured list for some kind of a groin issue.
Yeah. It's just the Mariners, again, we go back to this at the time when we were talking about the Cardinals buying.
We're not there anymore.
We're not really there anymore, but it's just a reminder of how quickly just these windows come and go. And I'm not saying the Mariners window is over, but sure sounds like it's kind of slammed shut right now.
I'd still bet on them to win the AL.
I wouldn't. They don't have the offense to do it. And they've got
Donovan back. Watch out.
And Raleigh figures it out at some point.
I don't know. At some point, we're 71 games in at some
I'm
point.
with you, but
we did this last year with Mookie, though.
Yeah.
Where you get into the postseason, you're like, it's still Mookie Betts.
Yeah. And that's where, like, Cal Raleigh, if you're in the playoffs, I feel like he performs.
I don't remember.
Mookie had some moments last year.
Was he that
I don't
great?
remember if
I don't
his
think he was that
numbers were
good.
great, but I think he came through in a few clutch spots.
Because his numbers were bad. Now, his was explainable. He got like the flu, lost 10 pounds at the beginning of the year, and just never recovered. I don't know what's up with Raleigh.
I would just bank on a guy to have success in a spot is the biggest moment, like a Cal Raleigh. And if you get Brendan Donovan back, your lineup looks deeper than what it did prior. So I would still bank on them. I just think the American League is so open that if Seattle gets in and guys click, you're winning.
That's fair.
Because that pitching is really good.
You know who else is having a rough year this year is Josh Naylor.
Yeah, he's not been very good. Although he's not. What's his OPS plus?
I don't know, but it's 680 OPS. So he's hitting for no power whatsoever.
I think he's only like 7% below league average.
I'm guessing that's a ballpark factor thing.
Yeah.
Their ballpark plays to pitching.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like, do you trust their pitching and how it would translate to other ballparks across Major League Baseball? Because they play in some like really big ballparks out there.
I would trust some of those guys. Like, I don't think Gilbert would have any problem translating.
Yeah.
I think Brian Wu would be fine if he translates. Castillo would be one of those where I wouldn't at this point in his career. But for the most part, most of those guys, I think they would be fine. Yeah. I mean, Castillo's like their fourth or fifth?
Probably. Just in a playoff series, you're probably not even going to him.
Did you trade Ivan Herrera for Brian Wu?
Hell yeah.
Who did I try to trade for Brian Wu earlier? Goldie? Well, a couple of years ago. And he's like, Wu's not that good.
I tried that for Gilbert, too.
Yeah.
I tried Goldie for
not
Gilbert.
having a great year.
I'd still trade for him, though. I've seen what that guy's capable of.
Yeah, I wouldn't, because he doesn't have much control left, right?
I got to look that up.
How old is he?
Not very old. All of their guys are pretty young
26 years
for the most
old,
part.
yeah.
I think he does have a decent amount of control, T-Bone. He's got 3 more years.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
He's only making $850.
I was thinking he was close to free agency.
That's the guy we talked about earlier, to where you trade for that's in front of your rotation. And that's probably the best you could get for Ivan Herrera.
Yeah, I'd be open-minded to that. Yeah, because I've liked Wu. I know, like you say, he had a good year this year, but I think last year he was a stud. So I would say just something was off. I'd be open-minded to that.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting one. I don't know that that's the spot that Seattle needs.
Playing.
I think they could use like an outfielder.
Yeah, put him in the outfield, man. It'll be
crush
fine.
the baseball. If you had if Nolan Gorman was hitting really well this year, he would be an interesting candidate for them as well. But man, they just weird team. I don't know why it hasn't worked for them, but this offense just has not been able to figure it out so far. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, the Rewind here on 101 ESPN. Cardinals just tweeted out $5 tickets and $5 beers at Busch tonight.
Sounds like
where you
BK
can get
and
those
Ferrario at the
$5
ballpark
tickets,
night.
but I need to go.
Well, you got 3 hours, ladies and gentlemen. Get there now.
2.5, actually.
Oh, sorry.
Cardinals versus the Diamondbacks. The makeup game is later on this afternoon. It's an early one, so if you're looking for the game tonight at 7, you probably missed it. It starts at 4:15. Michael McGreevy on the mound. J.J. Weatherholt leading off. Lars Nootbaar is your cleanup hitter today because no Ivan Herrera in the lineup, getting his first true day off so far this season. Alex, it was time, right? This is the good decision by the Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, it was time a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, this was absolutely the time to do so, and I'm glad they're doing it. I'll be very curious to see what he looks like coming out of this day off for him, to where he could just rest everything, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he comes back and he showcases a little bit more power and back to what we're used to seeing with Ivan Herrera.
T-Bone, earlier today, to open up the show, we talked about Hunter Dobbins, his impressive performance last night. 6 scoreless innings for him against the Angels, a team that had previously been doing, unfortunately, too much damage against the Cardinals pitching. The Cardinals have not made a roster move today, so the expectation he's going to be here for this game, and we'll see how much longer he sticks around the club. What is your current view on if he should be able to stick around to become an every 5th or 6th day starter for this team?
Oh, I think he should be up here. I think he's earned every opportunity in it, because every time he goes out there, he gives you a chance to win. Is it always great? No, but you know what? He gives you a fighting chance. I can't say that about Libby for really the last 2 months. He's only had 1 or 2 starts where he's done that for you. So I would make the move. Right now, it does make things a little bit awkward where when you get to Libby's next quote-unquote turn in the rotation, you wouldn't have a starter there because Dobbins wouldn't be available. Maybe you call up Quinn Matthews to make a spot start, and that's kind of how you go about this 6-man rotation for this turn through. Or you just go with a bullpen game, right? Libby would be available, can eat some bulk innings in that, and then you go to him there. But I think it's time to put him in the rotation. I'm skeptical that they're actually going to do that. I think he's kind of up here as just a reward today, and they'll option him tomorrow for a bullpen arm, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope they keep him up here to start.
Very curious to see how they go about it. I think if it was Dustin May on the mound today, they might have done this a little bit differently, potentially. But with Michael McGreevy on the mound, you have some belief that he's going to, a lot of belief that he's going to get you through at least 5, probably closer to 6 innings. That's just what he does more often than not. Dustin May on the mound tomorrow, that probably changes things a bit. Also, because of what Dobbins was able to do, you were able to stay away from most of your top relievers, so you should have a, relatively speaking, fresh bullpen going into this one this afternoon. We'll certainly be breaking whatever happens down tomorrow here on the show. How do you guys feel about the Cardinals versus the Diamondbacks? It did not go well for them down in the desert. Do you think it will go better today against Brandon Pfaadt, the righty?
I say no. I say that game against the Angels, the offense is still lacking, and with no Ivan Herrera, even though I know he struggled, I still think they're going to be searching for it. So I say no. They lose 5-2.
I'm going to believe. I mean, I think Pfaadt did pretty well against him last time they saw him. So I'm going to say they end up tagging him up a little bit. I say they win 5-3.
Yeah, I think this one is a close game because that's what the Cardinals play nowadays.
And we know their bullpen can handle it.
Yeah. 4-3, Cardinals get the W tonight against the Arizona Diamondbacks. We will break all of that down for you guys on the new edition of the Redbird Report, which will be released, yes, during this game. YouTube.com/101ESPN STL is where you can go to find that. We do have some new sellable packages available for you. If you're interested in advertising over on the Redbird Report, go ahead and reach out to me or T-Bone. We'd be happy to talk you through some of the different options that exist for you over there. Also available with some of those same packages is the Last Minute Blues podcast.
Right.
Alex, there's a new one up right now, youtube.com/101ESPN STL. What can people expect when they go over there to find it?
A lot of talk about the Blues' new additions, what the offense is going to look like with McTavish and McMichael, how it matches the identity of Jim Montgomery, and we get into a little bit of this competition that we talked about for those bottom roster spots and what training camp could look like.
Before we get out of here today, we did mention Bill Simmons on his podcast yesterday said the 3 spots that he thinks aren't getting talked about enough when it comes to potentially either relocation or expansion cities for the NBA are Kansas City, Nashville, and yes, St. Louis as well. Alex, do you think it's realistic for St. Louis to become an expansion or relocation spot at some point in, let's call it, the next 5 years?
I think there's a sliver of hope because of the local ties with the ownership on the Portland Trailblazers side, but I would put it at like a 1% chance. I just think there's too many cities that make more sense to the NBA than St. Louis. So there's always hope, and Bill Simmons is a very credible individual. But to me, when I heard the audio, it was hey, St. Louis, don't forget about, because they have those ties to the NBA now.
Yeah, I think they are in the running, but I think they are a second tier in the running, right? I think Kansas City, Nashville are ahead of them. And I think if one of those cities doesn't elect to take one, or the NBA ends up deciding, we don't really want to go there, then St. Louis will be in the conversation. So they're a distant running here.
I'm rooting like hell for one of these teams or one of these cities to get it.
We know which one.
Come on now. Because
Unreal.
You guys know I like the NBA. I enjoy the product. I think it's a lot of fun. The other thing is, like, you get so many stars that come through, where if it was a Kansas City team, St. Louis team, or a Nashville team, you could go see LeBron James. You could go see Steph Curry. You could go see whoever it is, like Aunt Robin.
Yeah, God, can we get some young talent, please? SGA or something like that.
SGA.
Jeez.
I don't know that a lot of people are like dying to go see SGA play, but sure,
no coincidence.
SGA.
Kansas City, LeBron James.
One of those guys. You could go see them play, and it's a super drivable spot. And let's be real, like, Kansas City is an easy weekend destination for people. Nashville is a really nice weekend destination for people. So I think it'd be great if one of those two spots or St. Louis were to get an NBA team. I would be curious, and this is a different conversation for a different day. We had it earlier, if you want to check it out on the podcast page. If KC was the spot that got it, would there be people in St. Louis that became adopted NBA team in Kansas City, whatever it's called, fans? The way that we've seen a lot of people transition to becoming post-Rams here in St. Louis fans of the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know what the outlook of that would be, but I do wonder if that's something the league would also look at as, hey, we only need one of these two markets for the NBA. If we're moving the Grizzlies, the Pelicans, or the Blazers, and then the other one could go to Nashville, for example. But between Kansas City and St. Louis, my guess is you don't get both. You probably get one.
Yeah. Well, and Kansas City would make a lot of sense because you're not going to be competing with another team to adapt your schedule to where, like, you're not like in Nashville. Yeah, Nashville and St. Louis, you're competing with both the Predators, not competing, but with the Blues and Predators. You have to adapt to those schedules and the concerts. Whereas if you go to Kansas City, it's all you. Like the advertising is you in the concerts, and that would be a little bit more desirable, I have to imagine, from the NBA. We all see how Adam Silver values schedule releases.
Somebody said, you're the worst. Memphis, Indianapolis, and Chicago already have teams, guys. Milwaukee is also only an hour further than Chicago.
Indianapolis has a basketball team?
They do. Indiana Pacers.
Oh, duh. Sorry. Not a very popular team, so I just kind of blanked on them. Sorry.
You okay over there?
Dude, that was a massive brain fart.
Dude, just in the NBA Finals 2 years ago.
Not a great team, I guess.
My boy Halliburton blew out his
Those are
Achilles.
further than driving to Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And you got to deal with time zones in Indiana. Nobody wants to deal with that. What time's the game? Is it 6 or 7 o'clock? I got to figure it out.
I know Indianapolis is Eastern time zone.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you guys missed anything from today's show, check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app. It's all sponsored by
Shea Fedor Company.
We'll be back with you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane is next here on 101 ESPN.